The Prophet of Thought series. Open your mind. Prophet of Thought series. Open your mind.
What's good, folks? Welcome back to another edition of T.L.O.T. right here on the old T.L.O.T network. As y'all know, tonight we will have the 4 unicorns, just like we do every Thursday, up in here dropping some jewels. Y'all already know what it is. I don't even have to explain it. Y'all know what it is. Tonight, y'all, we're not really gonna have a topic per se. We're gonna do a little freestyle. Of course, we're gonna talk about some stuff, of course, but it's not really. Usually, I have like a topic that I throw at the unicorns tonight, but tonight we're gonna kind of do a little bit of freestyle. Not so formatted and formulated. We're gonna. I don't know. I guess we'll do like a little, like a round robin. What do they call that crap? I'll think of it later, but that's what we're going to be doing. I see the unicorns starting to file in now. Lady Classic, Lady Cats, what's good? Did see Lady Ming. She done popped out.
Hello.
Hey, what's good, Lady Cats? What's going on?
Nothing much. How are you?
I'm good. I meant to send everybody the link earlier, but a lot of stuff was happening, I be busy around here, y'all. I be busy. But I'm glad everybody stopped by. Make sure when you come in the door, hit the like button. Look out for a brother. Hit some kind of button. Hit the dislike button if you want to. I don't care. Just hit a damn button when you come in the door. Jesus. Let's at least keep the likes the same number as many people as watching. I mean, come on. Hit that button. But there's Lady Ming. Lady Ming is back. What's good?
Hey, how you doing? For some reason, it kicks me out the first time it lets me in, then it kicks me out.
Yeah, I mean, it does that. I don't know why it does that, Lady Ming. Maybe that's the ghetto-ness of T.L.O.T is making its way down to your line. It's making its way down. So let's go ahead and get right into it, shall we? Well, Lady Kendra isn't here. We'll wait a few minutes for Lady Kendra to show up. First thing I want to say is Happy New Year to everybody. It's 2018. It's a new year. We're supposed to leave all that old stuff behind us, y'all. But we also know, and I talked about this on the last video that I had, there's going to be a lot of the same. But with that, we can be different. All right? We know it's going to be a lot of the same. We already know that. But we as a people, we can be different. You know, just because the world remains the same and people around us remain the same and Black society on a whole remains mostly the same, that doesn't mean that we have to remain the same. I'm trying to take the platform on a new trajectory, everybody. So we're going to be doing a lot of new stuff. You know, I have the 4 unicorns, of course. You know, they're part of this vision that I have. The channel is going to be doing some new things. We're going to be doing some new different kind of interacting kind of things. I'm still working on some stuff because I've gotten some new equipment and things of that nature, and I'm still working on more because I'm trying to do other things. So just be on the lookout. T.L.O.T is going to be going in a new direction, y'all, and going to be doing some big things. And I want y'all to be a part of it. Those of you who have followed me for many, many months and probably a couple of years, y'all know who y'all are. Y'all know we always try to take it a step up every year. We always try to do things a little different. You know, we add some things, we take some things away. So, you know, as everybody already knows, we've already added the 4 unicorns, you know, so some of the platform may change a little bit. Some things that you used to see, you may not see anymore, or you may not see for a while. So it's under construction, but we're going to keep these shows going for you every week. As long as the unicorns are willing to come up here and listen to my black ass every Thursday, we'll be doing it every Thursday. So, yeah. And also, we might have a double header tonight, y'all, because after tonight's show, I might do another live stream with Minister Jack. We might be doing a late night. Hangout tonight, y'all. So he's supposed to get back to me because I have spoken to Jap a little while ago because I've been trying to get Jap on the program. So we might do a late night stream with Minister Jap tonight. So I'm not sure. I gotta wait for him to call me back because I haven't spoke to Jap in about 2 hours ago. So we was going to do something before this, but he has some stuff he had to do. I had some stuff I had to do. So y'all might be in for a double header after the 4 unicorns. I might have Minister Jap up on T.L.O.T Media tonight for a late night hangout. And you know, Minister Jap always lays it down. So we just got to wait for this little blue phone here to ring and I'll be able to let y'all know what's going on. But hey, I see Lady Kendra down there. What's good, Lady Kendra?
Hey, how you doing this evening?
I'm good. I was telling the folks that we're just gonna do like a freestyle tonight. No particular topic. We're just gonna talk about as a matter of fact, this is what I want to do. I'll go right down the line with the Unicorn 4, and I will ask you ladies, what are your plans going forward in 2018? Let's start right there. Whoever want to go first can.
Well,
Somebody say something before I break out my cricket button.
well, I want to start to learn another language, particularly Mandarin. That's my main goal for 2018.
Okay. Anybody else?
Speaking of language, I'm right with you, Cats, because I have been refreshing up on my Spanish that I got to tighten up. So that's I want to go ahead and get that tightened up because it's just you need to learn more than one language, period. Spanish is the most common in this country after English, and it's easy to learn, so it's not even really a hardship. I really need to speak to my brother because he's fluent. So I need to just start talking to him because I don't have anybody to speak it with, because you'll lose the language. You can study it all you want to, but you'll lose it if you don't actually speak it. And that's what's happening with me. I'm retaining it to a certain degree, but then I lose it because I'm not using it. Let's see.
Yeah.
I want to create a YouTube channel. I know that I'm probably coming in at the end of an era of YouTube before they change their platform altogether, but I'm gonna try to get in where I fit in with that. Let's see what else I want to do. I want to see if I can look into reopening a business of mine that I had before, because I'm real super extra artsy crafty, whatever the hell. But I had a micro business a few years back that was a soap making business, and it failed because I'm very creative. But when it came to kind of the business side of it, I wasn't as savvy or knowledgeable. So I'm going to, kind of dust that off and see how I can get that started, because I need more than one stream of income. I don't like depending on 9 to 5 jobs because they're too fickle. So I want to see if I can, do at least 2 or 3 streams of income instead of just a job.
Okay.
Let's see, 2018. So you guys know at the end of 2017, my husband was promoted. I quit my job and a full-time stay-at-home mom. So 2018, I want to get a handle on what that means and how I can let this opportunity work for me. I want to flush out some of my ideas with Broke Girls. I bought a camera. I got Classic Ruby stamp of approval on my camera. So I'm making some leeway, at least in that direction. What else do I want to do in 2018? We have some other endeavors I mentioned that we want to continue to work out and flush out and hone in the details. I want to make it to the Essence Festival. That's on my bucket list. I've never been, so I'm going in 2018. And that's pretty much probably wraps it up. Understand my new role as a wife and a mother. Understand how that new role is a gift to me and how to unpackage that gift in a way to where it does create multiple streams of income, as well as be able to help those who I want to speak to in 2018. So that's what I intend to do and build better relationships. I'm not a great networker. Because I'm an introverted extrovert. So I want to actually use those skills. I haven't been active in my sorority for a few years. So I've already reached out to the president of the local chapter of the local grad chapter of my area. So I'm going to the January meeting. That's also our Founders Day month and things like that. So that's what I'm trying to do. Somebody said something to me. He said, before you can be a leader of servants, you have to first serve. So I plan on dedicating 2018 to serving.
Okay. Okay. Lady Classic. Lady Classic.
She might have stepped away.
Lady Classic.
She done slipped out of here.
All right. Well, okay. How about we do this? I want to ask y'all something, because I did a stream last night, right? And I spoke about doing things for women, because everybody who follows me knows I'm a handyman. I mean, I'm a blue collar guy. I've been working with my hands ever since I was about 7 years old. Okay, I'm a certified power mechanic, electrician, all of that kind of stuff. So I do carpentry, plumbing, electrical work, you name it, I do it. I can take your car apart, put it back together, your tractor, your motorcycle, whatever you got. I've been doing this stuff for close to 30 years. And I spoke last night about brothers doing things for women that take advantage of these brothers, because these brothers have these particular skills where they can come over, they can fix your sink, they can fix your garbage disposal, they can fix your washing machine and all that kind of stuff. I know, because I'm one of those brothers. All right. A lot of times, and it's sometimes it's my wife's friends, my wife's relatives, and it's also other females that I know. And I said in 2018 anymore. only a select few that I'm giving them a grace period until I fully cut their black ass off too. But yeah, they're getting cut off too. And I spoke about how, you know, a lot of times men are taken advantage of by these women. They're taken advantage of, because I know me, I feel like I'm taken advantage of a lot of times, because, you know, something goes wrong in these women's house and they give me the call. And a lot of times the only reason why I do it is because, you know, they cool with my wife, or they my wife's cousin, or whatever case may be. They may be my sister or somebody like that. So I go ahead and do it. But I've come to the conclusion now that I shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to, especially for women who have men. If you have a man, you shouldn't be calling me to come fix your air conditioner. That's just the way I feel. I mean, I shouldn't have to come to your house and work on shit in your house when you have a man laying in the bed with you. You shouldn't have to call me. All right? You shouldn't have to call me, because guess what? When something go wrong with my wife's car, she don't get on the phone and call nobody. You know who she call? Me. All right? If something goes wrong with her washer and dryer, she don't call no other person. She calls me. All right? I'm the person she laying down with. I'm the person she's fucking and sucking. So guess what? When something go wrong, she comes to me. And I feel like these women that I would usually normally go and do stuff for, that is the new rule for them in 2018. So, you ladies, what do you think about that? Am I wrong?
I 100% agree with you. 100%, absolutely. I have a personal friend right now who's going through something with her man. I mean, she's actually my loctician, and a whole bunch of stuff is going on. And she has this dude, and you know, he loves her, she loves him, but he doesn't do shit. You know, the shop is about to close down that she's in, because she's in actually in that Black Ink Chicago loft. So she has a she's in that shop. It's about to close down, and she needs to find a place. He tried to drive Uber. He didn't like it. He got fired from his job, so now he's not doing anything. She's stressed out, and I'm like, hey, look, what is he gonna do? He's at home all day. You doing hair all day. He's supposed to have 2, 3, 4 jobs. I don't quite understand like what's happening. You know, it's not enough to just have a warm body laying next to you. I shouldn't have. Now, if you're not the person that's a handyman, you should at least have enough money in your pocket to call and pay a handyman.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't have to sit up here and call Pookie and Ray Ray or my brother and them to come and help us figure out some shit or get some shit done. I should be able to look to you, and then we lay the game plan, you know, because everybody's not good at everything. So I'm not going to make it seem like you should be able to nail these, you know, put these nails in the wall. That may not be your thing, but at least have the money to do it. And if you don't have the money to do it, then we have a problem. Because I'm not lazy myself, you know, like I held my life down and did everything I was supposed to do alone. So whomever it was that was going to take my hand in marriage had to not only meet me, he had to exceed me. And you're not exceeding me if I have to go outside my house to somebody else to come over here and get my house together. There's a problem in that. And quite honestly, I will hope that these other men that are in these women's lives chin check that nigga too. You know what I'm saying? Like for real. Like I will hope that if my brothers saw my husband not taking care of me correctly, that they will have enough, you know, respect for me to go on the side and put him in his place, or whatever that looks like. You know, I'm not going to say what that should look like, but it should happen. You know, and that's just how I kind of feel about it.
Yeah. Funny story. A couple of weeks ago, my grandma, the wheel on her truck went flat, so she needed somebody to change the tire. Now my dad taught me how to change a tire, but my cousin, he doesn't know how to change a tire, but my grandma thought to call him first, and I can understand why she would think to call him first, but real talk, like, his mother never taught him how to change a tire. Because, my dad, who's his uncle, I guess my dad kind of failed him as an uncle, I guess. He never taught him how to change it either. So he's sitting up here talking about, oh, I'm just gonna look up a YouTube video. I was like, why don't you just let me change it? Because I know how to change it. Like, no. But yeah, I think a lot of it goes to some of these dudes. They just don't get taught like a lot of the handyman stuff. If they don't have a man in the family who can teach it to them, like a older, like maybe late baby boomer, early Gen Xer man in his family to teach him how to do that type of stuff, it'll go undone. And that's why a lot of these like a lot of the women that you probably mentioned, like their cars look raggedy. A lot of the houses end up falling apart in the neighborhoods, and then the property value goes down and all that because they don't get taught. It's sad because especially like in the case of these young girls who will just give sex to anybody, and they don't I don't know, they don't benefit from anything the guy does. He's basically just a kept Negro to her. And I don't understand why these women don't see anything wrong with that. And I don't understand why the men don't see anything wrong with it either. But
we'll get into that later. We'll talk about that because this is a freestyle, so we'll freestyle about that. Anybody else want to weigh in? Am I wrong? Is X wrong for taking this position in 2018?
Now let
Can
me
y'all
ask
hear
you
me?
before I render judgment on whether or not you're wrong. Have these been favors as of the I'm just doing it for you because you cool with somebody that I'm kicking it with, or are we getting paid for this?
No, there's no pay. It's the first one. It's you cool
well, no,
or
wrong, baby.
it's
You
all
ain't wrong.
right. I'm looking out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm
see, that's
I'm basically just looking out. That's it.
well, then the lookout got to stop
Oh
because
yeah.
I don't think that you're wrong for that, because this is sort of the problem in this is indicative of a symptom of one of the problems in the Black community. We'll have people in our community that are skilled in X, Y, and Z, and we feel like if we know that person, we're supposed to get the nigga discount. The nigga discount is usually free. That's gonna be a no from me, dog. Because if I wasn't around, how would you get it fixed? You had to pay somebody. Now, you pay a white man to come in there and do it. So you gonna pay me something. If your man isn't the type of guy that's handy around the house, he can't fix the plumbing, or he can't fix the, whatever the situation might be, and you're cool with my woman, and she tell me, hey baby, such and such needs such and such done. Well, okay, how much money is she putting up? See, that's the next question. And then when you say that or do that, we like to be victimized by a price tag. And it's like, but my skill, my time is valuable. That there's value in that. There's value in a man that knows how to, fix things with his hands, whether that's mechanically, a car, a house, whatever it is that he knows how to do. That is a valuable skill. People pay quite a bit of money for people who know how to do that, to come and do that for them. And so you're not wrong. As a matter of fact, it's probably past the time that you were supposed to cut that one off, because if you're not blood and I'm doing this because I love you, we're gonna have to exchange some greenbacks. And if you don't got no greenbacks, then you can, I don't know what you got to do to get your plumbing fixed. I don't know, flood out, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to exercise some very, very tough love. I think it's for the best. It's for the best. It will hurt in the beginning, but it is for the best. It's for the best. I think
All
the
right.
classic one's having some trouble with her
Yeah.
mic or something.
Can you hear me now?
Yep,
Mhm.
I can
We
hear
good?
you now.
Thank God,
Matthew.
yes. So first, let me just say good evening, Brother X, and Happy New Year. I was trying to talk the whole time. I just kind of thought, oh, maybe, like I'm being overlooked. Like, like that kind of thing. It's like, oh, I was already in the middle of my sentence. It wasn't until we finally got to the end and I'm like, oh, it's not because other people are louder than me. You can't hear me. So I apologize for that. But if I could
Well,
just
TPOT's ghetto-ness is contagious. It is contagious.
apparently, you infected my brand new tablet. I don't know. I'm telling you, the thing never malfunctioned till right now. But if you could possibly paraphrase the full question again for me, because I was kind of jumping in and out and changing devices and stuff, that would be great.
Well, I was referring to something that I talked about on the stream last night. Because, like I said, everybody who knows me, they know that, I'm a handyman. I'm a blue collar guy. I work on the engines and all that stuff. I have my own power mechanic shop, but I'm also a carpenter. I'm also an electrician. I'm also a technician. I'm also a landscaper. I do plumbing. I do all that stuff. I've been working ever since I was 7 years old. I wasn't raised by my mom. I was raised by my father. And my father was a blue collar guy, hardworking blue collar guy. By the time I was 7 years old, I was working. I was doing plumbing, I was landscaping, cement work, you name it. I was doing it by the time I was about 7 years old. With that being said, other people know that, okay? Other people know that about me. So they have a tendency to come to me when they need this, that, and the other thing done. And my thing for 2018, now, mind you, there's a select few people that I will continue to do, maybe a little stuff here and there, like I said, give them a little grace period until I cut their black ass off completely. But some people are just cut off actually, some have been cut off. They've been cut off for months. It's just that 2018 is my official starting point where I say, okay, no more, especially the people who have men. Okay, if you got a man laying in your bed every night, you shouldn't be calling X, all right, to come fix your stove. You shouldn't be calling X to come and fix your washing machine. You should be calling X to work on your car. You just shouldn't. So that's where I'm at now in 2018, and I was asking the other unicorns, am I wrong?
Well, I definitely don't think you're wrong. And I think that many of us will need to take a page from your book, if not for, doing physical things for other people, then maybe in other ways. I know for myself, I'm a giver. And so I actually can do things like change tires and, rebuild my house. But I also am very giving in many other ways. I've helped people, tutor them, I'll drive them places, I'll just be there for you 24/7. And I'm a giver, and I rarely, if ever, get anything back. And it's actually been a big topic of conversation for me, if not on the streams and on Discord, like a bunch of places where, I'm basically killing myself for other people. I get nothing back, and, obviously these people aren't going to appreciate it because I go out of my way to make sure that they don't think it's a problem or a big deal, because I'm basically trying to, give them the friend that I never had, give them the family member I never had. And you know what? That's not helpful to yourself. When I was doing that literally 24/7 for this one girl for like 5-6 years, it was clearly taking away from my relationship. It was taking away from my relationships with other things, from my schooling, everything. And the second I ended that friendship with her, within a few months, I was engaged to be married. And, within a year, I was married. So I think it goes to show, not even from their side, but just look at it from your side. And, each one of those people is taking something from you, and they think, oh, it's not that much. Oh, well, you do this anyway. You could do this in your sleep. But they don't know how many other people are taking from you or what else is on your plate, et cetera, et cetera. And all of that is going to combine together, and it's going to take away from your life and where maybe your life could be if you were able to focus on your own life. So the way I'm seeing it in 2018, and it is a big one for me, is I'm only going to give to those people
that I see reciprocation in some way. So you don't have to give me back what I give you, because there's a good chance you can't. But if you're not giving back to me in some other way, as in it's a reciprocal and equal friendship or relationship, then I don't have, I don't owe you anything. And so I'm going to feel absolutely no ways now saying, no, I'm sorry, I can't. No, I'm sorry, I'm busy. Because there's a million other ways that you could fulfill that one thing you're looking for someone to do, pick you up because your car broke down. Call a cab, call, towing service, call this, call that. Why don't you have CAA? Why don't you have roadside assistance? That's on you. It's not my responsibility to fulfill everything that you need, right? So I think 2018, I'm going to be telling other people that they need to start taking accountability for their own lives and have things set up that they need, whether it's a tutor or roadside assistance or whatever. And so I think, men, especially, who can more easily get caught into that trap when it comes to physical things because, they're men. And yeah, of course I can do that. Yeah, of course it's no problem. Women will get more on the emotional side, get caught up in that. We need to stop doing that. We need to start saying, no, my time, my energy, my everything is valuable. And so I'm not giving it away for free to people who don't appreciate it and aren't giving me anything in return.
Yes. Plus, I mean, isn't it time? See, this is my thing. I don't believe that people should be responsible for other people who aren't even responsible for their damn selves. I mean, if you're a person, and you don't really take responsibility for yourself for certain things in your life, whatever it is, if you don't take the responsibility of your own damn life, I mean, why in the hell should other people be responsible for you? When you're not even taking any steps to be responsible yourself, but other people gotta come in and supplement your damn irresponsibility. That's what pisses me off about people when they expect other people to supplement their damn irresponsibility. I mean, because like with these women I'm talking about, and I don't want to harp on them too long because every time I think about it, it gets on my nerves. But I mean, you can't blame me because you couldn't PAP. And when I say PAP, I mean pick a penis. All right. You can't blame me for that. I mean, you didn't take the steps that my woman took. My woman knew how to pick a penis. Okay, she picked a penis that was attached. And I talked about this last night. I said my woman picked a penis that was attached to a pair of hands that was skilled. Okay, she picked a penis who could tune her car up, change her oil, change her tire, fix her washing machine. So you can't get. It's not my fault you couldn't PAP. That's not my fault. It's just not. And I don't really have a stake in your life. Okay, I don't really have a stake in it. If your car breaks down, I don't have a stake in that. I mean, you don't have my babies. You don't have my kids. You don't have, nothing of mine at your place. So if things go wrong at your place, I don't really have a stake in that. If your washing machine breaks, that's not going to keep my laundry from getting done. It's like the old saying, what you eat don't make me take a crap. So it's like, if I have these people around me and I have these people in my life and they're just incredibly irresponsible, they can't expect that I'm going to come in and be that missing responsibility chip in their damn lives. And that's pretty much where I'm at, 2018, because sometimes, you just want to look out, you try to look out for people. You try to do what's right for people. You try to be there for people. But it's like a lot of times people view that as it's obligatory. All right. You know, because I feel like it's a privilege when you have somebody in your life that's willing to look out for you. That's a privilege because not everybody has that. But a lot of people don't see it as a privilege. They see it as, you know, you're obligated to do this for me. You're obligated to do X, Y, and Z for me. And that's what a problem arises for me, you know, because I ain't obligated to do shit. All right, I'm not. Anything I do, I'm doing because I'm trying to look out, not because I feel not even so much of our friendship or whatever, you know, whatever connection I have to you. I'm not even doing it for that. I'm not even doing it for that. I'm doing it because I'm looking out for you, maybe saving you a few bucks, you know, and making sure your raggedy washing machine work so you can wash you and your damn kids' clothes. You know, I'm not doing it because of anything else. So, I mean, that's where I'm at with that type of thing. And I know brothers like me know exactly what I'm talking about. Any brothers who are like me, you know, that's good with their hands and work with their hands, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Y'all, I don't even have to explain it. I don't even have to explain it. But I want to I want to say this. I want people to understand this. All right. Not just about me, not just about the world of YouTube. I want Brother Samuels, what's good, man? Jay Shine in the house too. What's up, brother? This is what I want people to understand. At some point, y'all, at some point, everybody has to take a degree of responsibility for their own selves. And we have to dish out a degree of tough love to a degree. And I know at times it's hard, you know, because within Black society, we have always been taught that, those nonsense sayings that mean nothing. Because, you know, Black people, we love using cliches. I don't know why, but you know, we have these sayings where, you know, the family that prays together stays together and, you know, do everything for family and also kind of nonsense, which is a bunch of just BS. Because first and foremost, the least appreciation you get and the least amount of money you ever gonna make is doing shit for people who you share bloodlines with. Okay. There's no money in it. Okay. It's nothing beneficial for you. I mean, if you go and you pick somebody up in your family, 9 times out of 10, they won't even offer your ass gas in the car. You ride your car all the way around the world, circle the globe with your car, and they won't even hand you $20. All right. Anything you do for family, more than likely is going to be free. All right. So it's the least lucrative. It's doing shit for family is the least lucrative thing you could possibly do with your time. Now, if you are a person who is fine with that, continue to do it. But if you are a person who are not fine with that, I advise you to stop doing it. Stop doing it. Because see, if you don't like doing it, eventually you're just going to go off. Now, if you're a person that do it with a big old cheesy smile and you love riding people all day in your car and picking them up and giving them money and wasting your time, that's different. But if you're a person that doesn't really like it, stop doing it, because it's just a matter of time before you explode. It's just a matter of time. All right. That's why I'm stopping doing it. I'm stopping doing it so I don't say the wrong thing to somebody and hurt their damn feelings. So what I'll do, I'll just withdraw from the situation. You know, I mean, even with family, man, a lot of times, man, we have to pick and choose who we help and how we help. We can't give everybody the same help. We can't give everybody the same line. We can't give everybody a ride. We can't loan everybody $20. Not everybody. So what we have to do is start to distinguish how we're going to dole out our help and our assistance. It can't be blanketed for everybody. And what's you ladies' take on that?
I agree. Look, man, I stopped taking certain people's phone calls just to keep my sanity. They'll be like, I haven't heard from you in a while. Like, because you you ask for too much, and then you don't appreciate the help, and it's ridiculous. And like, even with some of my friends, they'll call me up complaining about how their family members take advantage of them, and I'm like, I know it's hard, but stop stop taking stop giving them help, stop giving them money. If they gonna borrow money from you and then talk shit about you, then the next time they ask, next time their lights are about to go off, let the lights go off. Make sure your stuff is paid before theirs. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree with that. One thing that we kind of have to understand is the difference between helping somebody and enabling them, because enabling is not helping. If you give somebody money, I don't care if it's a family member, I don't care who it is. If you give them money and they blow off money unnecessarily, stop giving it to them, because you're enabling whatever behavior they have, whatever kind of irresponsibility they are showing. You're not helping them. You are enabling them. And I think sometimes we have a problem saying no. We don't know the difference between somebody that just needs help and somebody, if you're chronically in the same situation, if you're in the same situation, needing money, you need food, you need this, you need that, today as you were 5 years ago, I'm not helping you, because you don't want to get out. You like where you are and you like handouts. So I'm the wrong person to come to get it, because I don't like money vampires. I don't like energy vampires. I don't like vampires. Okay. So you're not going to suck up and sup up what I've got going. There's a difference between help and, somebody that's not making effort. Help implies that you're making an effort on your own to do something. You're moving in a particular direction and you just need a little bit of assistance to get there. It might be a one off, it might be a short term type of situation. I just need this little bit of help and then I'll be good. You know what I'm saying? It's not a permanent thing. That's help. But me just kind of doing it for you and kind of paying your way, and every time you get in trouble, you just call me. You know what I'm saying? And all that kind of stuff. And I'm supposed to be Johnny on the spot. And if I don't do it, then, all is lost. Well, then all will be lost, because I'm not getting up out of my bed. I'm not swiping no card. I'm not money gramming nothing. You can't stop by and get it. I'm not getting up out in the dead of night, come pick you up. I'm not doing none of that. So whatever, if the bottom fall out, then the bottom will just fall out. And if you don't speak to me after that and I'm on the S list, then I'll be on it. I'm good with that.
Hmm.
Anybody else want to chime in on that?
I'm 100% in agreement, and I'm a advocate of personal peace and protection of that personal peace, because people will just suck you dry and then blame you because you have nothing else left to give. One of my brothers, he stayed with us. This was 2012. I was pregnant with my 5-year-old, and he stayed. I let him stay in my house after my mom had bought his house in cash at an auction, at a foreclosure. Okay, to make sure he had somewhere to stay. He lost his job. The house was about to get put in foreclosure again, and all this other mess. So I let him come and stay with me and my husband. I'm pregnant, about to have a child, and right around the time, so now I started noticing. Now my aunt made a deal with me that she would pay me weekly to let him stay at my home while he was getting his stuff together and finding a job, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, fine. Now we made a 6-month deal. My aunt paid me every week like she said she would. Now the 6 months comes up and it's time for him to start paying me every week like he says he is. Now he was supposed to leave by September. I was going to have my son in July, but prior to that, we had talked and I said, hey, look, do you mind staying just a little bit longer, maybe to the end of the year, to help out a little bit with the bills because we got the baby coming? He said, oh, cool, no problem. Now he goes and links up with some chick. Now I live in the suburbs of Chicago. He decides to move from the suburbs of Chicago to 76 and Ada. Anybody that know the south side of Chicago, you understand where I'm talking about. And he decides to leave us high and dry after he just told me that he would stay and continue to help pay. Now, mind you, this whole time my aunt was paying me, he walking in and out my house with brand new shopping bags and everything else. Then he didn't even pay me the last month that he stayed with me and lied to me and tried to tell me he did. Me and him fell completely out. We made up and everything, but I told him, I told my mama, I told my husband, and I told God he will be living on the street in the damn paper box before he ever could live in my house again. And I mean that. We're good. We made up. It ain't no personal beef. I'm not holding no regrets, but you burned me and you don't get a second chance to burn me. I always say, you'll hear me say, you're going to get it how you live. If you want to live foul, then that's just exactly what you're going to have to do because you are not welcome here. You can't stay on my couch. You can't stay in my spare bedroom. You can't stay anywhere. You're going to live in a brown paper box because you don't know how to respect people. Now, the same brother, he always goes from like woman to woman or whatever. He did the same thing with my cousin. And I told her, didn't you see what he just did to me? What he did to me like a year ago or whatever? And even tonight, guys, we was on the phone and I lit into his ass about some of the things he's doing. It's a continuous fucking circle. It's a trend. You sit up there, you get on hard times, people help you out, you get with a new woman, and then as soon as some money get in your hands, it's like all of a sudden now you Big Willie style, and the cycle just continues. My aunt gave him a damn Cadillac, and it's one of the newer Cadillacs, $2,000. You know this fool went and bought a BMW too while you staying in my cousin's house? Like, how the hell does that make sense? And I kind of went in on him that just today again, and we left the conversation with "I love you too," but it was like, dude, you still making the same damn mistakes over and over and over again. It's cyclical, and I don't see it that way. I don't see it that way. How do you not see it that way? You doing the same thing. You calling me at my mom in San Antonio. Do you think I should go and surprise Ma down in San Antonio and take Sade? Hell no. I said, if I'm giving you this business, what do you think she finna give you? You showing up at her door with another damn woman after you done just left the other damn woman and the woman before that and the woman before that. Now, mind you, and they all got kids. He got 4 boys. But to his credit, he gets his boys every weekend. Every weekend, he takes care of his kids and everything like that. He's not a bad father at all, but he drops his seed everywhere he lays his hat. So you think that she's going to open up the door as a surprise with another damn woman? You still not freaking learning. And now you sitting on this phone talking all slick and shit to me and all that. I said, it changes. I said, I don't even have to know what's going on in your life. I could tell by your posture and behavior when something, you think you done got something good. Instead of building and stacking, you going to buy a BMW for what? To show out? No, I just wanted something nice. It's a depreciating fucking piece of property. How is that helping you? You know, that's what I was just telling him today. So I'll give him as much advice as he wants, but he can't borrow no money. He can't get no place to stay. He ain't got shit coming from me. And he know that because I'm an upfront person. You burnt it. It's done. You know, I had to cut one of my girlfriends off. She sucked me dry. Just sucked me dry. When I get married, you don't even show up at my wedding. She came calling me probably a year ago after I cut her off. I didn't even answer the phone. And I told my husband, I said, I'm not answering the phone because my spirit can't handle whether this goes good or bad. She sucks me dry. And I don't have no more room in my life for that. We've been friends for 20 years. Wow. But it's a lopsided relationship. I give, and you take. You give no value. You add no value to me at all. You can't give me advice. You couldn't give me a place to stay if I needed it. You can't do absolutely any. You can't give me no job referrals. You can't link me with good people. You can't do shit for me. All you can do is burden me with the drama of your life. And then we're damn near 40. Some of the drama you going through is stuff we was going through in our late teens. You know, like I cut her off. I cut her off. And that's just my aunt. I think I mentioned my aunt before. I cut her off. Just straight cut her off. And I gave my cousin the same advice. You have to protect your peace. Bottom line. Because at the end of the day, it's just you. And my husband understands where I'm coming from, even my mother. At any time, if any of this gets out of hand and I feel like you're a detriment to me, I will cut you off. That's it. That's all.
Well, let me ask y'all this. Do y'all think that this is part of the problem? I know often in Black society, we have a tendency, and I spoke about this earlier, we have a tendency to enable others. Um, and we will enable others' dysfunction. We don't just enable, bad acts, and prior bad acts. We also have a tendency to enable dysfunction. And when you enable dysfunction, and I know people gonna hate to hear this, but you are probably a big part of the damn problem. Because if you are signing off and enabling someone else's irresponsibility, if you're enabling or helping someone's lack of desire, lack of ambition, lack of energy, lack of being able to do some of the most basic things for their own self, your ass is part of the problem. You're part of the problem. Am I wrong?
No, I totally agree. And you have to teach people how to treat you. And I firmly believe that. If they feel like every time they get upset, they can come and kick you in your ass, every time they get upset, they're going to come and kick you in your ass. That's just the bottom line. And I just been through way too much, and I understand how detrimental peace is and the lack thereof, or how a person can, somebody mentioned in the chat or on here, energy vampires, people that suck the energy out of the room and suck it out of you. It's real, whether you believe it or not, it's real. Has a person ever walked in a room and all of a sudden you feel down for no reason? They didn't came in there and suck the damn energy out of it. Or when they leave, you feel tired just because y'all didn't set up there and spoke to each other and had a little bit of correspondence. They've sucked the energy out of you. And now that you know better, you are obligated to do better, or else you're part of the problem. So I like to break shit down so it's forever broken and we don't have to argue about this no more. You know where I'm coming from, you know what it is. So me and my brother's relationship is great because he knows better. Don't even call me. I'll do anything for you. Just like now, I didn't move from my condo into the house. He had his weight set from when he lived at my house. It's still there in the garage. And what I told him, hey, it's in the garage. The garage is open. You can go get it or not. It's up to you. Before, I would have took all his shit with me and made sure he got it and hounded him down. But it's in the garage. You can go get it from over there if you want to, or you don't. It's up to you. And that's just how I operate my life. It seems mean, but I have been so peaceful when I finally decided to put me and my family first.
Bingo.
Well, like for me, like I think that a big thing is what we have to look at with some of these behaviors, especially when you see that they're repeated offenders, and they're basically engaging in the behaviors the way a drug addict engages in using drugs or alcohol, and is dysfunctional for that reason. And so what we need to do is there's actually therapy. When you have a drug addict in the family, there's actually therapy that you go to as a family member as well, or support groups you can go to. And what they do is they teach you how to set healthy boundaries and maintain them. And that's for both your own sanity, but also to not enable. Because sometimes it is.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let me push the rewind on that a little bit.
Okay.
You said that there is a therapy for the family.
Yes.
Not the dope head. The
right.
family has to go to a therapist so they can learn how to deal with the dope head.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because when you have an addict in your family that you love, and at some point, normally before you finally smartened up, you've been enabling that behavior. And so just like someone who is an addict needs to get well and get healthy, all of the enablers, all of the family members who have been touched by this also need to get well and get healthy. So it's actually a bigger thing than just the addict getting better. And that's why you'll see sometimes there are actually instances where addicts will get better, but the family hasn't gotten better. So they're going to still, engaging in those either enabling behaviors or triggering behaviors or whatever, simply because honestly, they haven't recovered yet. So, and we see the exact same thing all the time in the Black community, where you know what, someone's finally trying to say, you know what, I hit rock bottom, you know what, I'm tired of this ratchet behavior, this is my 5th baby or whatever, okay, I'm gonna start pulling myself up. I'm gonna give myself a leg up. I'm not gonna be helpless anymore. And then someone will treat them like they're helpless. And what happens, it's very easy to default. It's very easy to relapse and go back to the old behavior. So just like they need to get better, and you know that's for them, and so you need to not enable them for them, you also need to get better, and you need to learn how not to engage in enabling behaviors with people to help them keep themselves down or keep helping themselves down.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else want to weigh in on this?
Pretty much agree with everything they said.
What they said? What they said.
That was really cute.
Well, I think that you know, we as Black folks, okay, I always say this. I say this a lot, and I guess people get bothered when I say this shit too. I say that Black folks are the dysfunctional relative of the human family. And you know, we have, you know, because we have a lot of shit that goes on with us. You know, some stuff we deny, some stuff we ignore, some things we enable, some things we facilitate. You know, so it's a big ball of things that's going on around us. I often say that when you're a Black person, dysfunction isn't that far from you. I guess that's why, you know, platforms like this and platforms, you know, like my man Valdez, you know, and others, you know, that speak about these things, people get so bent out of shape and they get so damn upset because, you know, the dysfunction isn't far from them. You know, when we talk about these things that's going on with people, we're probably describing somebody's mama. We're probably describing somebody's father, somebody's brother, somebody's sister, somebody's son, someone's daughter, whatever, you know, because like I said, when you Black, you ain't got to look far for dysfunction. You either can see it across the street, down the street, or across the damn hall. So, I mean, I think that is why we get so upset. I mean, it bothers us so much because, see, we as Black people, we hate criticism. We are the most critical and critiquing people on this planet. But God forbid if somebody take that spotlight that we shining on somebody and turn it around on our ass, we don't like that. Yeah, we don't like that. You know, we love criticizing because it puts us in a position of power where we can say, well, you're doing something that I would never do. You're doing something that I don't do. You're doing something that's inferior to me. It's inferior to what my personality is. So when someone criticizes someone else, I truly believe that that's how a lot of us take it. Like, you know, someone saying that, you know, your point of view is inferior to theirs. You're doing things that they're not doing. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's why we get so bothered about criticism. And what Black people need to understand is that we have to learn to take criticism. We have to learn to suck some shit up. Okay, and we have to develop some alligator skin too. We can't be such thin-skinned damn people. We can't be, because you always hear people talk about, oh, we're the descendants of kings and we did this back in the 20s and 30s. And you know what else was going on in the 20s and 30s? People like that dealt with more bigotry, more racism, more Jim Crow, more lynching, more discrimination than we ever will in our life, and they still moved on. You know why? Because they wasn't damn thin-skinned. We got everything at our damn fingertips, and we thin-skinned about every damn thing. We thin-skinned about every damn thing. I heard Brother Valdez was talking about this on his stream a couple days ago, where we always bitching and moaning about white supremacy. I mean, 60, 70, 80 years ago, our great-grandparents, you think they didn't deal with white supremacy? You think they didn't deal with Jim Crow and racism 80 years ago, 70 years ago? they dealt with way more racism, way more white supremacy than we do now. And they were able to do just fine. So what's our damn excuse for being so thin-skinned, especially when the critiques is coming from people who look like you? All right? Because you would think, because black folks, we got this thing where, we don't tell the family's business, when it comes to BS like child molestation and incest and all that. We want to keep that under wraps, right? But when it comes to somebody saying something about us or to us or giving us some constructive criticism, we all bent out of shape, and we shouldn't be. Because if we are all together and we're all this family that everybody talk about, the family should be able to criticize other members of it.
Mm-hmm.
Am I wrong? Unicorns, am I wrong?
You're right.
You're right.
Definitely.
I mean, we have to stop that, man. We have to be able to take some damn criticism, and we have to learn to suck some shit up. We have to learn to suck some shit up. Okay? Quit walking around with your damn hearts on your damn sleeves. It's very unbecoming. It is. It is. And people don't respect it anyway. People don't respect it. People don't respect that. You know how you gain people's respect? By listening to what they say and say, you know what, man, you might be right. I got to think about that. You want to throw people off. If you really want to throw people off, you're not going to throw people off by when they say something about you and give you some constructive criticism. You don't throw them off by saying, what'd you say? Oh, man, that's not me. You don't throw them off like that. You throw them off by saying, you know what, man, you might be right. I have to take that in consideration. I don't know how true that is, but you know what? Let me get back to you on that. You would throw a person off with that. See, I think a lot of us as black people, man, we need some readjustment with how we conduct ourselves in social and civil situations. I think a lot of us are very uncivilized, okay, on many different levels. Some of us are just slightly uncivilized, and some of us are massively uncivilized. I think a lot of us are unsocialized. Some of us may, have minor, social challenges, and then some of us may have major social challenges. And I think that is one of the greatest problems amongst Black society, that lack of being socialized, that's lack of being civilized. I do. Anybody want to chime in on this? They can.
That's a good point, because like in Chicago, it's extremely segregated. People can go their whole lives without having to be socialized outside of their neighborhood or, their radius, or just going back and forth to work, never really learning or knowing anyone outside of what they've always been taught and grown up around. That's really true. That's why I've always felt fortunate that I kind of got out, it's sad, but it's like, what do you do? How do you get people to want to socialize themselves? Because everybody's not born in a socialized situation, But it's true. It's a very good observation.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think also, and there's a lot of things addressing this nowadays, that the millennial generation especially is literally not socialized because all of your social activity is online. So the things that we had to learn as children 30 years ago, as far as just even, how do you speak to other people? How do you make friends? How do you recover from if you have a fight? What is a big fight versus a little fight? Like, things can go viral online so quickly, and something that would have been a tiny slight 30 years ago now has kids killing themselves. So I think that, and then we're desensitized from sex and death and all these other things in ways that we weren't before. Even in rough neighborhoods, a child dying or killing themselves or whatever would have been a much bigger deal 30 years ago than it is now. So I think on a lot of levels, we have have been desensitized by media, by television shows, by the fact that we are literally not connecting with the people we even live next door to or inside the same house as. So as a result, how human can you really be when you don't have any type of emotional connections and your whole entire world is about how many followers you have or friends on Facebook, not in the real world, not ones you actually know, not ones you've ever met, not ones that care about you, but just on Facebook to prove that you know 1,000 people who will like a photo you put up. So when you've created a society that's all based on technology the way we have, but the rest of our abilities to socialize haven't caught up. So we're basically kind of in a lost generation right now where they're going to keep advancing with technology and they're going to keep losing social skills, from verbal communication to written communication to just emotional intelligence, literally.
I want to
Well,
add
I
something.
wanna.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
No, go ahead,
oh,
Kat.
well, I want to start off in response to Ruby, hashtag millennials rule.
I knew it.
Um, so I do agree that we, like my generation especially, is probably the least social, and the way we act, it's like we try to one up each other on how vulgar we can be. So it'll start off with, guys sagging their pants, and then all of a sudden you gotta sag your pants and not wear a shirt. Then you gotta sag your pants and, I don't know, go to a fraternity party where you're doing some stepping, and then you just pull your pants down all together, and then all of a sudden you're in a wedding dress, deep throating a gun and all that. Or like with the women, and one minute you're showing some cleavage, next minute you're going around saying, I'm a slut and I'm proud to be a slut, and you're doing sex tapes and all this other stuff. So I think sometimes I'm very pessimistic. I think sometimes it's too late for this society, especially with Black people, because we want to be the main ones to get attention. Like everybody else is out here focusing on getting their money up and buying property and stuff. We're focused on, can somebody like a picture of my booty or something like that, So yeah.
Lost. I'm telling you. I know, because I read a lot. I watch a lot of news and I read a lot. And they say that they say that the millennials are going to be the first. They're going to be the first generation of people to have less than their parents. Yeah, they said they're going to be the first generation. Now think about that. I want y'all. I'm gonna set this up for y'all. Then I want y'all to go ahead and comment on it. They said that millennials are going to be the first generation of people to have less than their parents, meaning they're going to have less, even though they have access to more. Now think about that. For instance, if I had $10,000, right? Say I had $10,000 20 years ago, and I was able to take that $10,000, put down payment on a house, fix the house up, live in it, get me a car, live a life, and maintain that car and that house 20 years ago, right? Now, fast forward back to 20 years ahead. You have $200,000 today, but you don't have a house, you don't have a car, you still live with your mom. That is the equivalent of that. That is one of the most depressing things that I think it is, as far as this millennial generation, because they have access to so much more stuff than we have, you know, because I'm a Gen Xer. You know what I'm saying? I'm a Gen Xer. I'm in my 40s. I'm a Gen Xer. So the millennials have way more access to things than we ever had. I mean, they grew up with the internet. They grew up with computers. They grew up with all that kind of crap. When I was coming up as a kid, there was no internet. When I did my homework, when I was a young guy, I had the Encyclopedia Britannica. That's what I had to go to do my homework with. You know, everything is Google. Everything is freaking Bing. Everything is, you know, Internet Explorer. And they have all this stuff. And I think that it's a double negative, but because I think the reason that they have the fact that they have all this stuff has made it so they're going to have less, because they don't have the drive, the energy, the ability, the desire, or the interest that we had to have to survive. They don't have to have that. They say that almost 65% of millennials over the age of 22 right now are still living with their parents. They're still living with their parents. When I was younger, well, I moved out of my parents' house when I was 17, so I don't know what it's like.
So did
to be
I.
like in my, I don't know what it's like to anybody else. You too, Lady Ming?
Yep. I did 17, and I haven't been back, and I'm 38.
Yeah, I don't know what it's like to be in my mom's house when I'm like 25, 26. I don't know what that is. I have no idea what that experience is like. So when you talking about you have a whole generation of people, not just a handful, one, two, a whole generation of people that are in their 20s, their early and mid 20s, still living with their parents, that tells you a lot, not only about them, that tells you a lot about the society that we live in and the effect that society has had on these people. I want to know what y'all think. Whoever want to go can go.
I see, and this kind of piggybacks off of what Katz and Classic Ruby said about socialization. I look at it a little differently. I look at it as if they're kind of over socialized. Now, granted, they're not over socialized in the manner in which we would like them to be, because they're over socialized with no parameters, no boundaries, and nobody to guide them through the different walks of life as they learn, and so on and so forth. And by over socialized, I mean that they're able to get on the internet and touch people all around the world, which is something we weren't able to do. So it's easy for you to find somebody that can tell you you're right at all hours of the day. So imagine if I'll use this as an example. When you growing up, I was bullied and all that other type of stuff, imagine being bullied right now. I can go on the internet, I could find other people who are being bullied. And because I'm already lacking guidance and I'm already lost, they're talking about killing themselves and we should do this and we should do that. Now that's something I'm looking to do too, because now I've found like-minded individuals. However, back in the day, you may have been getting bullied, but everybody else wasn't getting bullied. You were able to pull strength from somewhere else. You weren't able to have nobody to necessarily sit there with you and commiserate in that experience, and help feed that negative energy. Even if it was going home and they're like, no, suck that shit up. It taught you to be stronger, or, learn how to roast them back, or whatever it was that you ended up doing. But the go-to wasn't let me kill myself, because you didn't have nobody else around you killing themselves. You understand? You follow me a little bit? When I say it's too much. It's too much information for people that don't need all of that information. I'm of the old school mind where I would prefer our stories are passed down by word of mouth, or read a book, or go and sit with your grandparents or great grandparents and learn. I would prefer that we, shut down, go back and look up microfilm and microfiche, go in the library and understand how to research something on the most dusty ass, little cards or whatever. That is lost, and I wish we could get that back, because these kids are just too socialized, and they don't have the mental capacity or the emotional maturity to handle all of this information. And just for you to click a button and say yes, I'm over 13 is just not enough.
Mhm.
So that's just kind of how I kind of view it. In agreement with you guys too, but just a different spin on what the problem might be.
Anybody
Well, like,
else?
yeah, like I gotta say, I mean, I do disagree with Ming a little bit, and the reason why is because socialization is more than literally seeing a random person's face on the screen or hearing their words or whatever. There's so many aspects to socialization, and part of the issue is the only thing that you're getting is positive or negative feedback on a picture you've posted, and all that you're getting is a bunch of snapshots of 500 people you've never met before and their perfect lives on Facebook, because no one posts the bad things on Facebook. They only post the good things. So it gives you an unrealistic picture of who people are, what people are like, and what it's like in the real world to interact with people, which actually makes it even more difficult when you get into, a fishbowl of a bunch of people interacting, and you're used to only interacting with, as you said, people who are exactly like you. That's not the real world. No one, from the popular kids to the nerds to this to that, no one walks into a room and everyone's exactly like them. You had to learn how to navigate that at some point. But on top of that, which is an additional problem, is, you had the introduction of the helicopter mom in the 90s, who now protected their kid from everything. So kids are actually programmed in their middle childhood to stop paying attention to what their parents think and want and whatever, and to start thinking about their peers and what their peers want and think is good or whatever. And that's literally programming, that's biological programming, so that way you'll fit into society and you'll be functional in your peer group. And unfortunately, what with the helicopter mom generation, what it does is it removes a whole bunch of kids who need to learn how to socialize with their peers from socializing with their peers. And the kids don't even fight back because they have games and they have Netflix and they have Facebook and Twitter and all these things. So, and then on top of that, you have all the school programs. All the schools are pulling, after school sports and after school music and after school this and that and all these things that were, again, forcing kids to interact and learn how to interact and learn how to deal with rejection and learn how to deal with disappointment. And then you move forward, and then you have this extended childhood that all of the millennials go through, where it used to be grow up as fast as you can, and now it's like, slow down, take your time, don't just jump into a major, take a couple years off, go in and explore the mountains and hike somewhere and whatever, and then come back and stay here. Don't worry, I'm not going to make you stress out like I had to for school, so stay here through to your master's, and don't worry about saving money. I'll help you save money, I'll fix things for you, I'll get you life insurance, I'll get you this, I'll get you that. So there's this extended period of adolescence, and so these children who are now adults have not even tried to learn how to navigate the real world until they're in their middle to late 20s. And that isn't something that we were biologically programmed for. So of course, you have people at 25, 26, 27 who are living at home with their parents. And you know what? To be honest with you, you're going to see a lot more of that in middle class and above, suburb type neighborhoods and stuff like that. Why? Because those kids are comfortable, because you don't move unless you're uncomfortable. A lot of people who moved out of their house at 16, 17, 18 did it because they were uncomfortable, because they were unhappy, because they dreamed of the day that they would be able to make it on their own. And the second they could, they were out of there, right? The people who, they come home and mommy still cuts the crust off their sandwich when they're 22 and does their laundry for them and makes their bed for them and figures out their life for them, they have no reason to leave. And that's what you're seeing, is a lot of people trying to say, I'm trying to make up for, give my kids something I didn't have. And so instead of actually raising them and parenting them and whatever, they're literally being like, ATMs, unlimited banks, unlimited anything to try to make their kids' lives as comfortable as possible. And I know this from firsthand because I'm watching my husband. My husband is one of those kids. And I have to fight him to be a grown-up because he doesn't have to be, because his mom fights me to make us children, right? So I think that's part of the problem, is you have a bunch of different things working in unison to make sure that millennials never grow up in general.
I see my
Well,
boy, Brother Valdez, in the house. What's good, Brother Valdez?
What's good, brother Xavier? What's going on, ladies?
Good
Hey.
evening, good
Hello.
afternoon, good evening, Angry Man.
Having a
Freestyle tonight,
real,
man. No real
I, I,
topic, just freestyle.
I see y'all having a real interesting conversation
Mm.
Yeah.
Well,
about
um,
the millennials.
Yeah,
Well, I
they
think
jacked up, man. I know I have a couple of them. I got a couple of them. And you
I think
know,
I can piggyback a little bit off of what Ruby was saying. It's been. I think it all started with the parents trying to adopt these new parenting techniques that told them that they needed to befriend their children
Hmm.
and not authority figures over their children. And I think they were having flashbacks of what authority meant when they were growing up, and for whatever reason didn't want to visit that on their children. And then it's a lot of different socialization. To spank your children is abusing them. To speak in an authoritative tone to them is abusing them. It's traumatizing them. It's making them feel some type of way, and you have to. And it's like, listen, you don't got to give your kids slave beatings, but you do need to be their authority. You need to be their parent. And somewhere along the line, some parents confuse that with meaning that they had to be mean and abusive all the time. And you don't. You just need to be stern when it's time to be stern. You know what I'm saying? When the kid is growing up real little, they might need some spankings. If your kid needs you to put your hands on them at 14, you messed up. As a parent, you screwed it, because at that point they should be respecting you enough to do what you say, not out of fear because they're not scared of you anymore. So they didn't set the right expectations for them. Something my grandmother used to say, and she would say, I'm whooping your butt now, so when you get older the world don't whoop it, because they don't love you. I do.
Hmm. I've heard that.
And you don't understand it when you little. It's like, why you got to do it? So why anybody got to do it? But when you become an adult, you understand that saying. It's like, you learn the discipline young so that somebody else doesn't have to teach it to you in the most harshest way that they can. And not giving your children simple responsibilities as they grow is really doing them a disservice, a tremendous disservice. Doing everything for them makes them feeble and feeble minded, and then it makes them also entitled. I'm accustomed to getting this treatment, so everywhere I go, I have to get entitled treatment, when really, no, you don't. And then they get smacked in the face with life when they do venture out of their mother's home and realize that life kicks you in the teeth more than it helps you off the ground. So you have to be prepared for that. You know what I'm saying? And they're not really mentally prepared for it. When I was growing up, and now I sound old fogey. Now we sound like our parents. When I was
Hmm.
growing up, 8, 9 years old, I had responsibilities at the house, not only just my homework and do well at school and all that kind of stuff. If I went to bed and that kitchen wasn't clean, that's going to be a problem. You wake up in the middle of the night, you feel that cool air because that cover getting pulled off of you, and it ain't nothing worse than getting woke up with a whooping. All because you didn't clean that kitchen the way she told you to. She been told you that. You knew there was dishes in there when you went to bed. So the rule was simple. Clean the kitchen at night before you go to bed. Make sure that the counters are clean, blah, 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 blah. Make sure your room is clean. Make sure your bed is made. Don't leave a ring in the tub when you get out of the tub. Simple stuff. She wasn't about to come behind you and do all of that. You know what I'm saying? As you get older, she didn't need to. She shouldn't have had to. You should be doing it. So now, as an adult, guess what I do? My house is impeccably clean. You can come eat off the floor. Anybody can ambush and come to my house and do drop in. I never have to clean it up. I never have to be like, oh, wait, let me straighten my house up because it's already clean. You can come back at
Hmm.
3 o'clock. It's clean, because guess what was drilled into me? So, once I left my mother's house, I didn't come back. What for? whatever struggles I have to deal with, and I got to deal with them on my own. You know, you grown now, so you got to deal with it.
I disagree with one point. Some of these Negroes need a slave whooping.
What with the old iron pipe with the old time car antennas?
I put it to you like this. My great grandfather, he couldn't really read and write that well, but you know, he owned 100 and some acres of land, worked his ass off, and took care of 15 children. And you could be grown. I remember my grandmother told me a story about how some of his kids was grown and they was actually at the house, and he told them not to come in his house after 11 o'clock at night. And they called themselves trying to be slick. And what they did is they turned the clock. They changed the clock so that it looked like it wasn't as late as it was. But, you know, older folks, they don't have to look at a clock to know what time it is. And he knew something wasn't right about the clock. So he asked one of the other kids, he said, what's wrong with that clock? Because it seemed like it's later than what it is. And he said, you better not lie either. And the other kid told the truth. And when they got home, he picked up a stick and beat the hell out of them as they was walking through the damn door. And, you know, as much as people nowadays will say, oh, that's child abuse, that's child abuse. My uncles, which is, you know, my grandmother's generation, I've never heard them say a foul word about their father. They respected him, and every last one of them had a impeccable work ethic instilled in them. So when you look at that generation and compare it to this Dr. Phil, oh, don't spank your children bullshit, you got to ask yourself, who was really right? Just because something is new don't make it right. You know what I'm saying? Some things are old and traditions, and the reason why they're traditions, and let's face it, it's not just in the Black community, it's across the board. Everybody, every single race on the planet used to practice corporal punishment. Every race on the planet, I don't care who you was, everybody got their ass beat. White folks got their ass beat, Black folks got their ass beat, Mexicans got their ass beat, Asians definitely got their ass beat. You know, Arabs definitely got their ass beat. You know what I'm saying? It's just this new generation. Not only do they not get whippings, but they expect not to get whoopings. Like they look at you like you're crazy if you try to correct them. That's why with my kids, like, yo, I don't believe in this new age shit. I want my kids to flinch when I walk by. You know what I'm saying? I don't want
something. Oh,
go ahead.
Are you done? Or
yeah, go ahead, Cass.
Well, as somebody who was raised in the MTV social media, I guess, generation, I have to say, one, hashtag millennials rule. Two, my mother raised me to believe that everybody's special and everybody's perfect just the way they are, and I shouldn't have to change. So you guys are wrong, and hashtag millennials rule again.
That's what you wanted to say?
Let me tell you something. This is how I was raised. This is how I was raised. I was raised in a time when anybody in the family could whoop your ass.
Yep.
So regardless of which house you went to, you knew not to show off because there was 31 flavors of ass whoopings. You could get an ass whooping from your aunt. You don't want to get an ass whooping from her because she likes to use a switch. You get an ass whooping from your grandma. You don't want one from her because she likes to use a belt. Then you got the other aunt that uses the Hot Wheels racetrack. Then you got the uncle that has that freaking the leather strap that you use to sharpen a razor blade with. You know, then you got the uncle that uses his hand. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't like you could run away from the ass whooping because you know you could outrun the older folks. But what they would do is they would threaten the other kids with an ass whooping unless they ran and caught you. So the other kids would run and catch you and bring you back.
Go get
so
them.
that you could get your ass whooped. You know.
Well, if
and
oh, sorry.
No, I say, and in addition to that, you know, our parents and older folks, they didn't say that you were perfect as you are. They would say, "I love you." But you about to get your ass whooped.
Well, if it makes you guys feel any better, my grandfather had this big paddle, and I have it in my house, and it's a big wooden paddle that says "old school" with big red letters on it, and he said it would be mine when he passed away. And when he passed away last year, I got it. So if I have any children, I will definitely use it. And he used to use it on me. So
look, Shiva said she only got 2 spankings in her childhood because she wasn't bad. Let me tell you something. Anything that could be done, I did. Anything that I could get into with my cousins, we did. One time we took my girl cousin, and you know how you grab somebody by their hands and feet? You know, one person grabbed the hands, another person grabbed the feet, and you swing them until you toss them. We found like a big pile of dog shit, and we took our girl cousin and we grabbed her by the hands, and he grabbed her by the feet, and we swung her and threw her in some dog shit.
Oh my God.
One of the worst ass whoopings I ever got in my life.
Let me ask everybody this. Because see, like I said, I'm a Gen Xer, all right? I'm in my 40s. I'm a Gen Xer. So I have adult children. All my children are grown adults. And I look at them now, and one of my sons, if my daughter brought home a guy like him, I would be like, what the hell are you thinking about, girl? So let me ask y'all this. I don't know if you guys have sons or well, I know you have sons, Brother Valdez.
Yeah.
And think about your children or your future children if you don't have any. If you had a son, or if you do have a son, if you have a son, would you want him to have anything to do with the girls of today, and vice versa? If you have a daughter, would you want her to have anything to do with the dudes of today?
You know, I do. My daughter's 22, and she's away at school, and I'm 50-50 because there are some real enterprising young men out there today. They're out there, but then on the flip side of that, there are way more who are not, you know. And unfortunately, the bad boys always, you know, we gravitate to the bad boys. It's just something about them. It's just unfortunate that this bad is not a bad that I'm accustomed to. But I try to tell myself, our parents and our parents' parents looked at us like we was crazy growing up in the 90s listening to NWA, you know? So I try to keep it into perspective and just hope that everything I've been through and everything I've taught her, that she'll remember it and choose differently or better for herself, which she seems to be. We're different. Her and I are very different. She's not as big of a rule breaker as I am, or, stuff like that, non-confrontational, more low key than I am. So far so good, But hell no. And then the boys, I got two little boys, and no, 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 no. I'm sorry, but my son comes into his old daycare and the little girl's already chasing him around. And it's like, come on, no, 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 not at all.
Yeah, there's only one thing wrong with that. Like NWA was, graphic for its time, but there was a balance. Like with NWA, every once in a while they were actually talking about something. And then in addition to that, there were other artists to counteract that, like Public Enemy. And then on top of that, we didn't just listen to rap, we also had R&B. Like here's this today, they don't have none. Like everything is jacked up. Even their R&B is jacked. Like we had songs, we had R&B songs back in the day that kind of hinted towards certain stuff. Like we would have a song that would hint to a dude having a side chick. But nowadays, there's songs that outright say it. My man is your man is my, like what? And they're running around singing it. So I don't know. In this day and age, like I fear for my sons. Like I fear for them, like what they're gonna have to deal with as far as like, these younger girls that just ain't got nothing on their mind. Like, I don't know. But, as far as like my boys, like my second son, I don't, if I had a daughter, I don't think I would want my daughter dating my second son. Like a dude like my second son. That dude is crazy. Like
oh my God.
Yo, he's off the freaking chain. Like sometimes, like I've had to hem him up. Like in the past couple years, I had to hem him up a couple of times. Like, yeah, it's bad. It's disturbing.
Anybody else want to weigh in on it?
Yeah, I would like to weigh in. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me?
Who is this?
My name is Dollar Will.
Oh, Dollar Will. Who else? Somebody else in here too with a damn avatar with like 8 face.
Nisha.
8 different photographs of their face on it.
Yes, Nisha.
She's cool.
Okay. All right, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say you got a good show, man. I just got hip to your show about a couple of days ago. I heard you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, man. Hit that subscribe button.
I did that. I saw you had Shahrazad Ali. I heard that one, and I heard your show last week. So yeah, you got a good thing going on. But let me come to the defense for the. First of all, I was born in '64, so that means I'm the last Generation X. I'm sorry, I'm the last millennial. I'm sorry, the last boomer and the first Generation X. So I kind of understand both sides. I think the millennials get a raw deal because what new technology do they have? See, a lot of this stuff is like driven from the top down. When I was in high school, videotape they had just started using it, man. They were transitioning from editing on film to videotape at the TV stations. Cable TV was just coming out. There was no digital yet. What technology do the new millennials have that's driving new opportunities for them?
Well, they have access to the internet first and foremost. It's easier for them to get in school now than it was when I went to college back in the late 80s, the mid to late 80s. It was a lot more difficult. I tell people this all the time. I mean, I come from a blue collar background. my parents didn't have enough money to send me to college, and they made too much money for me to get any damn thing, if that made any damn sense. And the crazy thing is I couldn't go off on my own, because at that time they were still basing my parents' income on what I could do, even though I didn't live with them, which I just thought was stupid.
I'm sorry, can I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So you were in college in the 80s, right?
Yes.
Okay, so was I. So when I was at Howard in the 80s, my tuition was something like, I think it was 2,000 or 2,500, something like that a year. In theory,
that's what mine was. Mine was $2,000.
Okay, so we coming from the same time frame. Howard today, man, that's like a mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think that we had it easier. Now, the generation before me had it even easier, because Ronald Reagan came in the early 80s and just gutted the daggone Pell Grant, and we were complaining about paying $2,000.
I gotta disagree. Categorically.
Yeah, I gotta agree too.
First and foremost, in this day and age, you don't have to have a college degree.
Nope.
In this day and age, it's not the fact that we have new technology. We don't really have new technology. We have upgraded technology. We have technology that is being used in a different way than it was when we were younger. Nowadays, the what millennials have compared to what we had in the 80s and 90s, actually, you know, it shows you just how, and I don't mean no harm, cats, but it shows you just how lazy this new generation is. I complain about this constantly, incessantly with my children. The stuff that they do on their smartphones, they could be getting paid off of it, but they just refuse to do it. They refuse to be innovative. If I would have had the platforms and the different innovations that they have nowadays, when I was in, I remember in the late 90s when Google first came out, I wanted to invest in Google. I'll never forget it, because at the time I had a subscription to Money Magazine and Fortune Magazine. And a lot of times they were talking about these new companies that were coming out that were supposed to be these great companies. And I'll never forget the companies that I wanted to invest in. But the problem was, at the time, I did not have a brokerage account. I didn't know how to get a brokerage account. Didn't have the slightest clue how to go about doing that. Today, it's an app. Yep. Today, I can go to Robinhood, and I don't have to have a brokerage account. All I have to have is a bank account, and I can literally invest in companies. If I would have been able to invest in Google back in the 90s when it first started, I'd be rich right now.
Hell yeah. I remember when Google stock was like $9 a share, man.
Exactly.
I remember that far back.
And that's just one avenue and one aspect. Hell, when we were kids and we were playing Super Mario, our parents used to say to us, quit playing that video game. You're never going to amount to nothing playing that video. Right now, there are kids that are making enough money to fund their upper middle class. That's how much money they're making just playing video games on Twitch or on YouTube. So in this day and age, millennials have it way easier than anybody before us. It's just a matter of not being willing to take advantage of the opportunities. They're entitled.
Well,
and they're spoiled.
Yeah, let me try it another way. The computer. All right, let's look at the desktop editing, digital editing, and all that stuff. I was editing digital in 1992. Now that was something to know back then, and got paid pretty well with it. Once it went popularized and everybody started charging $30 and $25 and $15 an hour to do your production from their garage or their bedroom, it gutted those industries. Kids now are coming into if they can get a job at a TV station or radio station. Let's start with the first part you said, where you don't need a degree. Yes, you do. You need a degree now more so than you did back then to get hold on, let me finish, to get a job with the company. However, you are right in the sense that with everything they have today, you can start a job on your own now much easier than we could. You are absolutely right in that. But we failed them because we didn't prepare them for a future where they would have to create their own work. And that mindset was a failure of generations before them, because we were in the frame of mind of go get that good government job or that good corporate job.
I wasn't.
No, that's you. Of course, there are exceptions, but that wasn't the way as a society we were thinking. Black folks, this ever since we migrated from the South and went to the North for the better jobs, that killed our entrepreneurship.
Well, actually, I see. Here's the thing. I had a stepfather who preached entrepreneurship, so that wouldn't even apply to me. And as far as what you're saying about you have to have a degree, yeah, you have to have a degree for dying industries. So you're talking about, here's the thing, you're coming at it from the standpoint of saying, oh, it's more difficult for them because you're trying to apply practices that are outdated. You're trying to apply industries that are outdated. Retail stores are dying. Everything is moving towards the internet. In fact, back in the 90s, there were numerous articles that came out in various publications that said by 2013, the majority of the workforce is going to be self-employed. So this is not something that was a shock to anybody. It was just, it's basically what you're basically doing now is a refusal to let go of past industries that are supposed to die. It's innovation. They're supposed to die. That's the reason.
It's the inevitability of innovation.
Exactly.
I would say that what you are doing is refusing to accept the premise that I started with when I asked the question, what new? Don't kick my my premise in the gutter. What new technology is driving these opportunities?
I answered that question.
The answer is none. You said there were no new, that they're like I guess enhancements to old technology. That's the problem.
No, what I said was, here's the problem. Here's the problem. You're thinking in analog. You're not thinking digitally. There is no new technology as far as analog. There is no new technology as far as hardware. There's new technology as far as digital, because we've moved out of the analog age into the digital age. So what you could do with the internet in the 90s, what you can do now with the internet, you couldn't do with the internet in the 90s. So that is the new technology. The new technology is the innovation of how we use the internet. When you look at, it's just like right now, the automobile isn't new, but if you compare a 2020 automobile to the Ford T model, it may as well be new. If you went back in time and showed somebody a 2020 anything, as far as vehicles, it'll look like a damn spaceship. Like the actual new technology is everything that you see now. The fact that we're on a platform having a discussion, and I think I brought this up on a live stream before. there was a time when you could not do this. You had to have, there were gatekeepers, and you yourself have said that you've worked in broadcasting before. I think when we were on BGS's platform, you know, like I know, that if you broadcast something without permission or without being FCC regulated, that was considered a pirate airwave, and you could get locked up for that. Nowadays, people, you know, anybody can start broadcasting and have a discussion and have a platform. And one of the biggest innovations that have happened recently that has completely changed the game is the fact that you can create a product or you can create a service, and you are not limited to the local area that you live in, meaning you don't have to worry about dealing with the Teamsters or dealing with this organization or dealing with that organization. You can literally create a product and jump on the internet and have the entire world as your market.
Mm-hmm.
So nowadays, it's not a matter of, like, if you look at the millennials and you try to apply what we had to do coming up, it's not only is it not going to apply, and of course it's going to look, you know, it's going to be much more difficult, because just like you were saying, you know, what you have to pay to go to get a college degree is vastly expensive. But that's the point of innovation. The point of innovation is to get around inflation, is to get around all of that. You know what I'm saying? As the price of gasoline goes up, the reason why it keeps going up is because by now we should have been driving electric cars. We should have been having a new source of energy. You see what I'm saying? That's the entire point of innovation.
Yeah, but before affiliate marketing was here back in the 90s. That's not new. Before there was Facebook, there was MySpace. Before that, everybody was on AOL and in those forums on AOL. So the thing that's really new is just YouTube. So a lot of, I don't think there is as much new as you think there is. And everybody's not going to have that skill to sell or do a YouTube channel.
No, first of all, there's a vast.
Hold on, y'all. I got a bit of bad news. God damn it.
What's that?
I had told everybody at the top of the show we was going to do a double header. We were supposed to do a late night with Minister Jack, but he just texted me. He said he out. So that's going to get postponed till like early tomorrow, y'all. So I hope y'all ain't too disappointed. Yeah, because me and Jap was supposed to do a stream tonight, late night stream, but he just texted me. He's like, you know, X, I'm out. I'm doing some shit. So, you know, we will do it tomorrow. We're going to do it tomorrow early, y'all, like in the morning. So be looking out for it. I just want to plug that right quick. All right.
But YouTube is not the only thing that's new. I just gave numerous examples. In affiliate marketing, no, that's not new. But nobody gets rich off of affiliate marketing.
Selling products. People were doing that in the 90s.
Okay, but it's different. There's a difference between selling a product in the 90s on the internet and selling a product now on the internet. There's a vast difference. And this is not, see, here's the thing.
What's different about it?
What's different about it? The way that you can actually reach more people and how you can reach more people. See, here's the thing. The internet is not a new thing, but people being on the internet by and large is a new thing. The invention of the smartphone is what changed that. Before the smartphone, the average person who got on the internet had to have a personal computer. Now, up until recently, personal computers were a couple $1,000s. It wasn't until recently that they started going down to the point where the average person could afford a personal computer. And even then, most people didn't want to buy a personal computer. It wasn't until they came out with the iPhone, and then Android came out with their version, and then they started coming out with these phones. And even then, it was expensive to have one back then. And then everybody started moving in that direction where everybody wanted to have smartphones. And so smartphones became more affordable. And then everybody's like, okay, well, we've got all of these smartphones, putting them out here, but the companies wanted to continue making money on it. And once they reached market saturation, it's like, oh, well, everybody has a smartphone. How are we going to be able to keep making money off this? And they said, oh, I know what, we'll just keep improving the phone every year and put people in a position where they'll have to buy a new phone every year. So let's put the phone in the hands of everybody, not just adults, but children. So now everybody has access to the internet at their fingertips. So now there's drastically more people on the internet. The proof of this is how Amazon is basically putting to death the average retailer. Okay, so now you have the internet to the point where everybody is making these booming businesses. You couldn't do that in the 90s. You couldn't, because
people were doing it in the 90s.
No, they weren't.
Yes, they were.
What were they doing? Name a company right now. Now you're moving the
goalposts.
No, I'm not moving the goalposts. I'm asking you a simple question. Name a company in the 90s that was doing so well on the internet that it put its counterpart that was a brick and mortar store out of business.
That is a ridiculous question. Because here's why it's ridiculous. Hold on. The reason why, of course, things get better, things grow, things get larger. We're not arguing that it was as big in the 90s as it is now. It was big, and it's always getting bigger. It was profitable then. It's more profitable now. It'll be even more profitable in the future. And what you know now is not going to be invalid in the future. And what I knew and what I experienced in the 90s is not invalidated about what's happening now. That's what I'm saying. But it's just get back to what's going on with the millennials.
You know what, brother?
Everybody can't work. Brother? I mean, let's get beyond the internet. Where are they going to go?
I'm gonna say it like this. I'm gonna cut through all of the bullshit. I understand you went and got an education. I understand you paid for that education. The fact that shit is irrelevant now.
I didn't tell you that I got an education, paid for it. None of that. You're reading in this stuff.
But no, I'm not reading in the stuff because you're bent and determined to prove that the old way of doing things is still relevant, and it's just not.
I never said the old way of doing things was relevant. You're reading into that. I'm saying what I said. My point. Go ahead.
You said at the beginning of the conversation, you said that you said in defense of the millennials, you said that there are no new opportunities for them, or what opportunities did we create for them? And what my argument is there is a shitload of opportunities for them that they do not take because they are lazy.
Well, what I said was just slightly different, but it's important. I wasn't saying necessarily we didn't create opportunities. I was saying technology creates opportunities. Technology drives jobs creation. And there hadn't really been any new innovations. There's been expansion of the internet, expansion of old things. And I pointed out how when I was in coming out of high school, there was no cable television. My assignment in high school was to go to the DC City Council and watch Bob Johnson and Percy Sutton argue about getting the DC cable franchise. We knew there were going to be 500 channels and somebody had to make all these programs. And so we knew it was going to be jobs. And I was able to get a job I quit school because I got money. I got a job.
Our economy is moving in a direction that is not a job-driven economy. It is a entrepreneurial-driven economy. That's where the disconnect in this discussion keeps happening. You're talking about job opportunities for millennials that is not going to be there because that is not the direction. It's just like right now you're arguing the point of the value of a billboard, and no one cares about a billboard.
No, let me clarify for you. I'm going to accept your premise that we have an entrepreneurial based economy right now.
Mm-hmm.
which means, and you are making my point that what's happening now is different from the past. Therefore, by what measure do we crap on millennials? We had it easier. We're in a workforce that we never experienced before. We had these young kids coming out here for looking for jobs. Like you said, it's an entrepreneurial based economy, and yet we're turning people out, asking them to go find the job while they have college debt going on their head.
Let me stop you
my
there.
question.
Let me stop you there. Hold on a second, Lady Ming. Let me stop you there, brother. Now you say that we had it easier. Now we had it easier because there were more jobs available. We could quit school and get a job inside of A&P. You know, we could quit school and get a job inside a Super X drugstore. Yeah, we may have had it easier in that sense. But the type of things that young people can do now, I couldn't do when I was 16. What a 16-year-old can do now, I couldn't do that shit when I was 16. There's no way, because I didn't have the access to the world that a 16-year-old has.
Okay, can I? Let me convince you that I fully know what you guys are saying. In the 80s, I ran a media production company. Okay, there was no digital. I had to beg, borrow, damn near steal Ampex 456 tape. If you're old enough to know, that's about $10 a damn reel. Okay, it costs a crazy amount of money. Then you had to get access to a studio and all of that. I understand what you're saying, but even when the access we had, you could parlay that into a livable income in a job. But as Angry Man is pointing out, and I don't buy his argument, today you have to be entrepreneurial minded. Everybody is not going to be that. Well, not a lot of people are not going to be that way, especially if we're not training young people to know that that's what they have to do. They're coming out. Ask the millennials when they were in college that they know that they had to come out here and create a job as opposed to put in an application and get hired for one.
Well, I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna leave it alone, so that the sisters can get back to the original topic. But I've always had an entrepreneurial mindset. And the truth of the matter is, because of the lack of technology and lack of innovation, as much as I tried to start businesses the same way I'm doing now, because I'm not doing anything any different now that I didn't do back then. The only difference was it's just like George Lucas with Star Wars. He couldn't do certain stuff because the technology had to catch up to his vision. Technology had to catch up to my vision. Back then, I worked jobs and struggled because I didn't have the opportunities available to the average 16-year-old today. Had I had those opportunities, I've said numerous times, if I would have had a smartphone when I was a kid and had the access to the internet and the world that children have today, I'd be rich by the time I was 40. That's just a fact. So it's not a matter of them not having opportunity. It's a matter of them not seizing the opportunity.
Exactly. Let me ask the ladies on the panel. Let me ask the unicorns this. Now that we are, we in 2018, another 2 years will be 2020, and right back trying to vote for another president and all of that. How do you ladies see the world as it stands now? And how do you see millennials? What do you think lies before the millennials, given the stats that I told you about millennials and how they're going to be the first generation to have less than their parents? What do you ladies see in that? What does that tell you?
Well, I agree with that statement, and I think my age group, we need to be more creative, and figure out what we're gonna do. Because with automation and all that stuff coming down the pike, I mean, it's looking bleak in terms of jobs. And I understand a lot of people can't. A lot of people don't have that entrepreneurial spirit, and so you just kind of have to support those who do. If you see somebody who has a good idea, support that person, and maybe it'll help you in the long run. Stop being so individualistic and thinking of self, and basically support each other.
Mm-hmm. Well, like, I think I totally agree with that concept that ultimately what we're going to see with the millennial generation growing up, and probably Generation Z as well, because they're all kind of blended at this point, is that they're going to make less than their parents, and it's not going to matter. Because at the end of the day, technology and the advancements and the way the government's all set up to, pay everybody everything, to do nothing, et cetera, you can be relatively comfortable making a significantly less amount than your parents and grandparents did. So I don't think that there's going to be enough discomfort in the millennial or even Generation Z generations for them to want to change anything or to truly recognize that there's a problem. So I think it's going to be the generation after them. They're the ones who are going to suffer from the laziness and the individualistic behaviors from the previous two generations. And the communities that are going to get out of it and be in a better position are going to be the ones that already stick together. For example, the Jewish communities that, work within each other. They go to their own schools, they work in their own businesses, et cetera, et cetera. Communities like ours that literally don't support each other. We don't work in Black businesses to help those businesses grow. If you're not, an entrepreneur, we don't know how to basically, make decisions and put our dollars where it counts. We pull our dollars from things like movies because we don't like who the actor is dating in it, but we don't know how to pull our money from businesses where all of the Asian owners are beating the shit out of our people because they think we're dogs. So as a result, you're going to see the Black community, when we hit rock bottom. Yeah, sure, right now the ratchets and the, ain't shit people, they're good living on welfare. But there's a significant portion of our population that won't be good with that life. They won't be happy with it. And they're just going to wake up one day and find themselves there. And at that point, when they are uncomfortable and they are unhappy, that's when changes are going to have to be made. And that's when we're going to basically figure out it's going to be survival of the fittest.
Just to add to what Classic just said, and Cats before her, if they're not careful, they're going to just wipe themselves right out the history book. Because if no significant contribution is being made, the next generation after them will take the reins and overpower, and they're just going to get a horrible rewrite. I feel like they're allowing too much to happen to them instead of taking, like I said, the reins and doing for themselves. And that's what we're kind of trying to get away from a little bit. So in a minute, you're going to have everybody making your decisions all over again. You're going to undo all the work that has happened generations before us, and it's going to be my son's generation, and the generation after you that's going to have to come up and clean up the mess. I mean, I think that these type of conversations, especially having millennials included, hopefully each one can continue to teach one, because if you're not careful, it's going to be as if you never even happened.
We survived crack. We'll survive anything.
I'm sure we will, but I'm sure we will. You're absolutely right about that. I agree.
That's what, yeah. So it's been bad before. That's my point. So and y'all not facing anything like crack.
But what is that survival look like, though?
Right. Exactly. That's the question, because it's been bad before. It's not the same bad. Crack was something new. This is something new. But the difference is that with the crack era, at least they raised kids that wanted to do better than that last generation. It seemed like we're raising kids who don't want to do shit.
That's not
Right.
what we were saying at the time. We were calling, I'm trying to be cynical. So some of you that we were calling crack babies. If you were
I
born
wasn't
in the
one of
80s,
them.
I mean, the people that were born in the 80s, we were like, we don't know what the heck these kids are going to turn out to be, since we know their parents, so many of their parents on crack. That's what we were saying in the 80s.
But you were
from the
saying
outside
that
looking
with
in,
but you were saying that with almost like I guess we don't know. We are here. We see what's happening. We don't have to guess and hope on a wing and a prayer. You just gave a real blanket statement about a whole generation of people. That's not true. We're talking about what's actually happened, not what might happen, based off of some people you know who are drug addicts. That's not the
right.
same.
And the thing is, too, is that, from the outside looking in, because a lot of these epidemics didn't affect me because I'm in Canada, and I'm in Canada in the white suburbs. So a lot of things really didn't affect me and my family in that way. So I can just look objectively from the outside looking in and say, there's a large difference between, basically what was a coordinated attack against the Black community. We're going to drop guns and drugs inside of your community and then watch it blow your community up. And we saw what the effects were. It's not about what the effects on the crack babies were, as much as what did it do to the families? What did it do to the communities? You had all of our men and many of our women, for that matter, going to jail for, selling drugs or being on drugs. Families being ripped apart, kids being thrown into terrible foster homes because someone had to raise them. They can't raise themselves. They're only 8. Someone needs to feed them. It destroyed our community and set us on the path to where we are now. So we can definitely look now and see that there's a difference because those crack babies grew up, saw what they were in and said, I don't want that. I don't want to be that. Whereas in now what we're seeing is that the kids are growing up in what I'm saying from the outside looking in are equally terrible conditions, and they are aspiring to be as good as their mom at, running the welfare game, at having a kid every 3 years, starting out as early as they can, so that way they can have 3 people living inside their house, their mom, their older sister, and them, all on welfare, all with their babies, so they're aspiring to, aim low. They're aspiring downwards instead of aspiring upwards. They're not looking at those situations and saying, that's not good, I don't want to be that. They're looking at that like that's a glamorous thing to do because it's easy, because we are in a lazy society, in a lazy Western world, in an incredibly lazy community right now that is saying, wow, look how easy that is. I can sit on my ass, have kids that I just need to keep them alive, and look at how well I can live. Because they think that's well, because they think they're not starving, so that's well. They think they can buy Nikes and they can buy Jordans and they can buy this and they can buy that, and that's living well. It's living like the music videos, right? So we can literally say that we can see a difference between what happened with those kids in the 80s and what's happening with the kids of today, and it is definitely a downward trajectory.
Well, I think you're comparing the outcome of the kids in the 80s with the present of the kids, of the millennials today. The people in the 80s, when they were in their 20s selling crack, nobody knew that it was going to turn out great, or that they or we would survive that. In the 80s was followed by gangster rap. It seemed like we was spiraling in reverse. So
Okay.
Millennials are now up to 34. Millennials are now up to 34 years old. So we're not talking about Generation Z are little kids right now. Millennials go up to the age of 33, 34. So we're not taught. We can literally say, hey, look, this is what happened to the millennial generation. That we have a bunch of 25-year-old children at 25 years old who are in the good communities, who haven't grown up yet at 25 and 30 years old, still living with their moms, still in an extended adolescence, still aiming downwards, even in good communities, right? Where, they're not flooded by that stuff.
There was somebody selling drugs in their 20s and in the 80s. I mean, that's dysfunctional. Why isn't that a parallel to a millennial up to age 34? Why is that not a parallel?
Can I address the elephant in the room, please?
Go ahead, Brother Valdez.
First and foremost, government policies and welfare did far more damage to the Black community than crack ever did. Okay. That's number one. Number two, is messed up as drug addiction is, and as messed up as it is that, you know, certain individuals, you know, had to do that, had to sell crack. You know, I can't, I hate it when I hear people repeat propaganda. All right, because not every dude that sold crack was on crack, smoked crack, you know, his family smoked crack, all of that. You do realize that we have a
You do realize that it's not possible to make a statement that covers 100% of anybody. We just talking in general terms.
But you just made a
Well, it
statement.
wasn't like
Yeah, I made
crack
I made
epidemic
a
something
quick
that affected
statement,
like
and it's
less
not
than 20% of the population. I mean, it was bad, but it wasn't a huge chunk of the population.
No, it wasn't at all.
It was a huge chunk of the population affected by crack and the drug abuse.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
Wow.
No, it wasn't.
Wow.
It was more inner cities than rural and suburban areas. As far
And
as
where
black
do
people
most
were
black
concerned.
people live in America? In the daggone cities. Go look at a census map. We mostly live in the cities. We're concentrated in the cities.
Well, actually, most black people live in the South. That's a statistical fact. That's where most of us live, in the South. And the South, far as inner cities go, the numbers are infinitesimal compared to what they are, you know, up northwards. So I know that's how it is now. I don't know how it was like in the 80s. I mean, I lived in New York in the 80s, but I wasn't raised in New York City. So I don't know what that whole inner city thing is. So, but I know that when you talk about the drug epidemic with black folks, it was mainly the inner cities. It wasn't the rural areas of North Carolina. It wasn't the rural areas of places like Alabama and Mississippi and places like that. It was the more inner cities, and it was more of New York, New Jersey, California, a few cities in Florida, things of that nature. Chicago,
all the major cities.
Mainly up north. That was mostly up north, though, man. That crack thing took a hell of a hit on the people in the northern tier.
Well, we could just say every major black dominated city.
Yes, in the north.
It didn't ravage Atlanta.
Not as bad as it did places like New York and Chicago, brother, because those are bigger cities. They're bigger cities. They had higher populations. They're more densely populated.
And they had. See, here's the thing.
So you say outside of the big cities in Florida? Because I know we're not going to disagree on that, though.
Here's the thing. You can't have. Here's the thing. You can't have the entire point of the drug epidemic in the 80s was to try to damage a community, but the only way it can work is you have to have massive poverty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you have to have massive poverty on a level where, one, you're gonna have people wanting to get high to escape the poverty, and two, which was a side effect that they had no idea was going to be a side effect, that a lot of these young men were going to be industrious and say, hey, I'm not going to do drugs, I'm going to sell them.
That's not what happened. No, it didn't require people to be poor. It affected at every class level. Okay. In fact, it gutted a whole lot of progress when we started getting those black mayors after Marion Barry and on started coming into a little power, and crack stunted outgrowth.
Back up for a second. So you're gonna tell me something I lived through?
Yes.
Brother, you've lost your mind.
No, you don't have one yet.
Let me explain your mind to you. Let me explain your life to you.
Let me explain what you went through. Let me explain what you witnessed with your own eyes. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, brother. Since you chose to insult me.
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost, I do have a mind. The problem is your facts or what you believe to be facts are misconstrued. They're a little skewed. Okay. First and foremost, crack is the poor man's drug. All right. When you go up in class, you get coke.
Angry man, I got about 13 years, maybe, I don't know, maybe 5-10 years of watching it over you.
What does that mean? That
means you can't tell me stuff that when there's an age difference between us, you can't tell me that what I didn't see growing up in a major city.
What city did you grow up in?
DC.
Grew up in DC. Okay. Were you ever involved in it?
I did not sell drugs.
Exactly.
But that does not mean I don't know about
exactly.
it. Mm. Okay? Mm.
So basically what you're gonna tell me. So basically you're like the guy who never.
I'm not gonna let you do that.
Let me finish.
No, I'm gonna answer your question. I had it in my house, best friends. I grew up in the southeast quadrant of DC. If you know anything about that, you can't avoid it.
Okay, so basically you're the guy who grew up around Vietnam vets, but you're gonna tell a Vietnam vet that he don't know what he's talking about when he's talking about Vietnam?
I'm the guy that grew up in Southeast in the 80s. And I'm telling the guy who was too young to know about what was going on at that time because you were just too young. So I'm the guy telling you, don't invalidate my experience, okay? If I'm going to respect your experience,
but you're not
absolutely going to have to respect mine.
You have invalidated everybody's experience on this panel. You just told me I was a crack baby.
Okay,
like seriously.
Okay,
yeah, you
I apologize if that offended you, and I prefaced the statement, but I was not saying it as an insult to you. I was acknowledging that it is an insult that was said in the 80s. I'm sorry if I didn't make that clear.
No, you were invalidating what I was saying with an insult. That's what you were doing. Like, come on.
First of all, see, here's the thing. Not everybody. See, not every
you have a whole lot of 80s babies on this panel right now. So at the end of the day, part of the issue is that you're making statements about 80s babies and about experiences that other people went through, like Angry Man, who he's telling you, listen, I literally grew up in the thick of it. You're saying, well, yeah, I was there. I mean, I couldn't avoid it, but I wasn't in it. But these are the assumptions I made, and I felt like it was really prevalent. So I'm telling you about that, which is entirely different than A, having the experience of growing up in the thick of it, and B, having all of the research and all of the facts to back up your statements.
No, you don't have to have sold drugs to know about it.
You don't have to sell drugs to know about selling drugs?
You don't have to sell drugs to know about crack and what it does, okay?
See, you're the one that's going to get some baking soda, some goddamn baby powder in your bag because you don't know anything.
Hold on. Can y'all listen? Can you just recall
like,
what
seriously?
I said to you? Can you recall what I said to you? I said I know about it from members of my family who I was living in the house with, best friends, people on my street. I said I grew up in the southeast quadrant of DC. That is ground zero.
Okay, but here's the thing. Here's the thing, and this is the part you keep missing. Well, you kind of cut me off. Like I said before, crack cocaine in its rocked up form is the poor man's drug. All right. When you go up in class level, you rarely will find crackheads in a higher class level because the chemical composition of crack cocaine is entirely different than just regular powder cocaine. It is so much more addictive in that concentrate. Come on, can I please finish, bro? It is so much more addictive in that concentrated form that I guarantee you that if somebody of any social standing that has any real money starts smoking crack, he's not going to have his social standing for long. He's not going to have his money for long.
You are absolutely right. And that's what happened to people in the 80s. People of higher, or if you want to say, I'm just using your term, higher classes, or people that were not poor, middle class, they got gutted by crack because they were snorting cocaine and they thought it was the same thing when they picked up the pipe, and it wasn't.
Well,
I watch
actually,
people become addicts. I mean, I watch women start smoking crack, and then 2 months later she's selling
actually,
herself.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Towards the beginning, see, we're talking about two different time frames. Then that's probably where the disconnect is coming in at. You're talking about the early 80s, correct?
Early to mid, yes.
Okay. So once you start getting towards the late 80s, the crack babies that you were referring to, we were taught something different. See, we were taught not only by example, but by older heads that you don't mess with that because of the simple fact that it will make you a slave. So as much as you're saying that, you know, the 80s babies was crack baby, there was a shitload of us, a very large percentage of us who were very intelligent. So it wasn't a matter of, oh, well, you know, we don't know what these crack babies. No, that wasn't even the case. And the reason why is because if you look at today, the things that a lot of millennials do, you know, getting hooked on syrup and taking mollies and shit. We didn't do all of that because we saw how people in our neighborhoods were walking around like the Walking Dead. We witnessed it, and we knew that rock would make you a slave. So, you know, as much as they and see, this is what I noticed they love to do on television. And I hate to hear when Negroes repeat shit that people have said on television. Oh, this crack epidemic is ravaging the community. That was just one part of a multifaceted plan. It wasn't just crack that ravaged. I hate when people say crack flew through the community and ravaged the whole community. It wasn't just that. It was government policies. It was the welfare system. It was the prison industrial complex. There was a bunch of things that occurred that caused this disconnect in the Black community. It wasn't just crack.
Okay,
Crack
again,
was
I
just
just want to apologize again, just to make sure
heads of a multi-headed dragon, man.
Yeah, the hood was already. It's just like Chris Rock said when he was telling jokes. He said, I think it was Chris Rock. It might have been, but some comedian was like, "Yeah, man." He was talking about, "Yeah, man, crack came through here." It's like, nigga, you act like the ghetto was really all that good before crack. Like everybody was living it up, and crack just came through and dried everything up. We already the shoot. If you go back and look at old news programs, if you can find any on YouTube about freaking the 80s and in the 70s in freaking Brooklyn and in the Bronx and shit. Some of them areas look like war zones. This was before the crack epidemic.
Yeah. Again, I just want to be clear that everybody understands that I was not calling the 80s babies crack babies. I was repeating what was often said at the time. You can go on Google and Google the term crack babies. The Washington Post used to have that term in headlines. And the reason why I brought it up was to kind of clarify or crystallize the lack of optimism that existed at that time about the kids born at that time, born in the 80s. That's why I said the term. I was not calling anybody that.
It's called propaganda. It's called let's refer to Black men as super predators. It's no different. It's the same playbook that's been going on. If you like right now, for instance, let me ask you this, brother. You know, they call the 80s, they said it was a crack epidemic.
Why do you think they use that term, crack?
Why do you think they use the term epidemic?
Well, no, the term crack, because you called it propaganda.
It's propaganda, because of the simple fact they want you to believe that everybody in the hood is on crack and the babies is going to be crazy. So that justifies locking them up, putting them in group homes, and killing them.
Okay. At the time when they were saying it there was crack was an epidemic. Does that mean?
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Does that mean everybody was on crack? No.
Let me
but
ask
it
you
was
this.
an epidemic. Hold on. And we had a lot of babies were being born addicted.
Let me ask you this.
That's where the term comes from.
Let me ask you this. Is there a heroin epidemic right now?
I don't know.
Exactly. There's actually a heroin epidemic right now in white communities. You know why you don't know?
Because I'm not associated with it.
No, because it's not in the damn news like crack epidemic. It's not across every paper. It's not written across the front page of the New York Times or the New York Post.
It's not criminalized either.
It's not criminalized either.
So you're saying crack was the crack addiction was overstated?
There's an epidemic right now of heroin that makes what we call the crack epidemic look like
hell in comparison.
Nothing.
Yep.
And it is
okay, so things get worse. But at the time when crack was the epidemic, was it? How did it compare to previous epidemic? Was it overstatement or propaganda? Use that word at the time. You can't compare and validate the past by what's happening now.
But nobody's saying that crack wasn't an issue. We're just saying that it was plastered all over newspapers. It was the justification for stop and frisk. It was the justification.
I agree with all that. I'm not going that far.
In the prison industrial complex, but that's what Valdez is trying to say. Not that it didn't happen, but that yes, it was overstated. It was repeated in multiple ways. It was criminalized. We weren't viewed as people with a health crisis by being addicted to drugs. It was the war on drugs. They don't have a war on drugs for the opioid crisis that's happening in the white community. That's a health issue.
Absolutely.
If I may say one thing really quickly.
During the time, the president of the United States was even talking about it during the time.
If I could just say one thing, that in 2015, the heroin epidemic killed more people than like any epidemic in U.S. history. But the crack epidemic, which is something that everyone knows about, which killed far less people and actually had far less people addicted, was a thing that everyone knows about it and was the terrible drug epidemic of life. The way that everyone seems to believe it still to this day is that the crack epidemic was the thing. The heroin epidemic, the opioid epidemic is killing people and addicting people in such rapid rates and so much larger than the crack epidemic ever did that it's terrifying them to the point where they are literally trying to decriminalize drug use because that's how many white people are being swept away by it.
And in the 80s, crack was the biggest epidemic we'd ever seen, and now heroin.
It wasn't.
Okay.
No, it wasn't.
At that time.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
What was? Hold on. First of all, no, it wasn't.
What was?
The reason that it was sensationalized was to justify the Rockefeller laws that they put in place where you could get locked up with stiffer penalties and way higher sentences for having rocked up cocaine.
No one is disagreeing.
Can I please finish what I'm saying? Rocked up cocaine as opposed to powdered cocaine. This was to justify. See, the reason why they did this is so that whenever you hear about a drug dealer, lock him under the jail.
Got it. Nobody disagrees with that.
Forget the fact.
In the 80s, what was bigger in history up to the 80s? What was bigger than crack in terms of an epidemic?
What was bigger than crack?
Up until
the plague.
The fucking plague.
I mean, drug epidemic. We're talking drugs. That's the subject.
No, but it's any epidemic. An epidemic is something that is literally infecting our people and killing them.
Because you mentioned heroin is bigger than crack, and I'm saying
I'm mentioning heroin is bigger than any epidemic. I didn't say drugs. I said any epidemic in U.S. history.
I got an answer for him. You said what was bigger at the time, what was bigger than the crack epidemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
The poverty epidemic. That was bigger. Impoverished blacks in America. That was bigger. That was bigger. And as far as
but no other drug epidemic.
I'm not talking about drugs. See, here's the thing. Why were drugs in the community in the first place?
Man, nobody's arguing those points you made.
But you're not understanding the fact that when I said the heroin epidemic and I said it was the greatest epidemic in US history, I didn't say the greatest drug epidemic. I said period epidemic, right? So you have to understand that, again, the crack epidemic, quote unquote, was sensationalized in the same way that the avian flu and the pig flu was sensationalized, when if you actually look at the numbers and the percentages of the people that were killed and swept away by this terrible flu were really, really low, right?
Well,
comparative to the regular flu. Right. So the crack epidemic was sensationalized in the same way, with a political goal underlying it, with a goal that they had against the Black community. That is the part that everyone is trying to talk about right now, is the fact that you're missing the fact that this was never really the kind of epidemic that you're even speaking on. It was just a means to an end. We're going to say this is this huge thing that, I mean, it's destructive. Look, the kids are going to grow up and crazy. Everyone's crazy. Oh, you look at him, he blinked his eyes. He's probably on crack. You got to get them all arrested. You got to lock them away for life because they're all dangerous.
It felt like an epidemic in DC.
And it's still, we're still talking. And here's the thing. Even after all of that, we're still talking about it, and it's not even relevant anymore. Like right now, what's going on with the opioid epidemic, it makes the crack epidemic seem like a freaking, like a minute detail in American history. And just the fact that I asked you about it and you said you didn't know anything about it proves my point. It's not to say that you're not informed. It's to say that it's not being sensationalized, because there's no underlying goal. There's no, if there was an underlying goal to lock up, white folks and things of that nature, then it would be all over the news. But it's not all over the news because they don't want it sensationalized. They want to keep it hush hush. You see what I'm saying? It's Pandora's box that they opened when they first started flooding these communities with drugs. They didn't think for one second that it was going to spill over into white America, but it has spilled over into white America so much more than the Black community currently.
The chickens have come home to roost. They have come home to roost.
And the thing about it is, I oh my God, I can't stand when I hear, like, okay, if I was to ask you right now, or I was to ask the average person, what's the biggest problem in the Black community? The first thing somebody's gonna say out of their mouth, these thugs selling drugs and killing each other. It's white talking points that are used to justify the legalized modern enslavement of Black men and the murder, the wholesale murder of Black men. That's what it's for. The entire point of raising those points is to lock us up and kill us. That was the entire point of sensationalizing the drug epidemic. It's the entire point.
Brother, crack was a real epidemic in DC and many other major cities.
Really? Okay, so let me ask you this then.
Is that what he got out of that? All that talking?
So let me ask you this then, bro.
No. What I got out of it, all that talking he said was stuff everybody here knows. Nobody's disputing it.
So let me ask you this then. Okay, so if crack was the biggest epidemic to affect
don't put that on me.
Then what did you say?
Don't put that on me that it was the biggest. I said it was a big epidemic.
Okay, so we're still feeling the lasting effects of crack then, right? That's what you're saying.
No, I didn't even make a statement about that. My point
I'm asking you a question.
Okay, no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we had our challenges in our that critical I guess you're talking about the 18 to 34 age group, and we didn't know how it was going to turn out. And the millennials today, they have their challenges, and we don't know how that's going to turn out. That's it.
That's just two different things. That's two entirely.
It's always different. That's exactly right. It's always different.
Why did you feel the need to compare them?
So no, what I'm really against. Okay, this is where I'm from. I don't like. Again, I told you I am baby boomer, Gen X. I'm always in these arguments with baby boomers and Gen X who try to shit on millennials as though they are worse than us and worse than other generations. That's bullshit.
Okay, here's the thing. You know what you're doing. You know what you're doing, which is also a huge problem in this day and age. Now, if there's any epidemic that we need to be talking about, it's the shaming epidemic. Anytime you point out something that is incorrect about Black behavior, there's always somebody that wants to shame you into not talking about it. So if we say millennials are lazy, that's not true. Yes, the fuck they are.
Very.
Yes, they are.
I'm saying that as a millennial.
Right.
I mean,
I'm saying that as a parent of millennials. They lazy as hell. They lazy as hell. I know. I got a couple of them. I got two.
In fact, I'll take it a step further.
The shortcomings of a generation doesn't hate them.
And you know,
my daughter's so lazy. Her lazy.
Like we're lazy and
doesn't
we're not that creative. That's why when Brother X asked earlier, I said millennials need to get more creative, because when the whole automation thing comes around, a lot of them are going to be looking like fools, and
they need to get
their parents, get sick or die. I mean, nobody's going to take care of them.
Yeah,
there are a lot of them that still live with their parents and their grandparents.
They need to get more creative. They need to get their ass off the couch. They need to get their ass up out the goddamn house. All right. They need to read a few goddamn books. All right. They need to get some desire and get some interest so they can gain some ability. That's what the hell they need.
And then I object to being accused, this panel being accused of quote unquote shitting on millennials. Just because you bring up a shortcoming of a group doesn't mean that you hate that group, and it doesn't mean that you don't find any value in that group.
Are you a Gen X?
Generation does the same to the next one.
What's it called? Wet wipe culture, where everybody's like, I was making fun of it earlier when I said my mom told me everybody was special and perfect just the way they are. I mean, obviously I was joking, but that's literally the stuff that they taught us in school. That's what we watched on TV. And yes, my parents did let me watch a bunch of TV I really shouldn't have been watching when I was growing up.
Well, you know what? My mom was born in 1965. Okay, but I'm Jamaican, so I'm first generation born in Canada, and I'm in Canada, and I can tell you, my mother, born in 1965, came here when she was 5 years old. She told me exactly what Kat said, that I am perfect exactly the way I am, and anyone who had something to say about it, they were just jealous, they were just this, they were just that, they were in the wrong, always. And you know what? It wasn't to my benefit, and I'm technically a Zennial. I sit right on the border between millennials and Generation X because I'm born in 1984. So I'm 33 right now. And so you know what? When I'm sitting there talking about millennials, I'm talking about my own damn generation. So is Kat.
Exactly.
So are many of us. And we're damn lazy. I can tell you, laziness was like implanted in my brain as something I have to fight against because I am lazy and I know I am.
Ruby, I'm going to challenge you to listen for the unity and what I'm saying.
That's condescending.
And what you said just now, and what I said. Your mother and I are essentially the same age. I'm 1 year older than your mother. What I said was the boomers and Gen Xers, we don't take any responsibility for creating this generation. You just said your mother told you you were fine just the way you were.
Yep, still does.
So you're saying that she should not have done that, right?
She still does.
Yeah, I am. But you know what the hilarious thing is?
Therefore, shouldn't she take some responsibility for how, if you say you are lazy, doesn't your mother have some blame in that?
You know what the hilarious part about all of that is, though? Here, do you know what the hilarious part is about what you're saying? As I said, my mom was born in Jamaica. She's not a baby boomer. And I made sure to clarify this point last week at BGS because I wanted to know, does she qualify? Because she came here when she was 5. She's not a baby boomer, and she's not technically Gen X because she wasn't born here. So at the end of the day, in fact, you know, if anything, like, we're Canadian. So it's something about this generation, the millennial generation, this technology-ridden generation, that is making us lazy. And it has nothing to do necessarily with a lot of things that we would like to tie it to, because I am telling you that as a millennial that has a Jamaican-born parent that lives in Canada, we're lazy here too. And
so
you know what?
Parenting doesn't matter.
I can tell you.
Parenting doesn't matter.
I mean, parenting matters, but dude,
culture outweighs.
And where do you get the culture? When you're being raised by your parents, that is a
okay. Well, culture can come from a majority of different things. It could come from your parents, your neighborhood, your school, what you watch on TV, what you listen to in music, what you read in books, what you read in the news.
And here's the word for why this generation is so lazy. It's called instant gratification.
Yep.
Bingo.
That's the reason why. Because everything is at your fingertips. You don't have to wait for anything. You don't really have to work for anything.
And that whole thing of everybody gets an award, the parents did that. Structuring the kids' lives with summer camp and after school activities. They don't let kids don't even anymore.
It wasn't just the parents that did that. It's the culture. It doesn't matter. You could teach your children whatever you want to teach them at home. But guess what? You go to work, and when you go to work, your children go to a school, and they have a curriculum at that school. So guess what? If the school all of a sudden decides, you know what, we're going to give everybody an award, you don't have any say so in that. If they decide, you know what, we're not gonna put a kid in the corner and make them stare at the wall for doing something that they shouldn't do. What we're gonna do is we're gonna be lighter with our punishments. You don't have any say so over that. When your child is sitting there watching television and the television programming is changed in a certain way, you don't have any control over that. You can tell your kids not to watch television, but can you watch them 24/7?
Well, and if I may, just right now to support those points. So one thing was that I was overly brilliant as a child. So that means I could put in literally less than 0 effort and still come out with an A. And so my parents used to go to the school and say, please fail her. Stop giving her 5 days to hand in an assignment, only taking off 1% per day because she's only in grade 3 or 4, and then making her go do it in the library for the day, and then taking off only 5%. Just fail her anyway. Oh, but the work wasn't failable. She actually really earned a 94%, and we took off the 5%, so she really got an 80. Who cares? Because you know what that taught me? That taught me that I didn't have to work very hard to get really far. Right? So at the end of the day, my parents tried to make the school tell me something different, and it wasn't worth anything. And I can tell you something else that, I mean, really, like, they've done the studies, they've proven it. I mean, there's a bunch of psychological theories that have tested this, that what you instill in, like, as parents and your kids in the first maybe 6 to 8 years of their lives, that is, you know, your major impact. Because after that, a kid's brain is literally trained to care more about what their peers and the world outside is telling them than their parents. Why? Because they are literally needing to be socialized in a peer group and survive and thrive and reproduce in that peer group. So it doesn't matter as much after they get through a certain phase in life what your parents are saying and what the culture is saying. It matters a lot what your peer group is saying. So in my case, my peer group growing up was the white suburbs in Canada. So it didn't matter what culture was instilled in me on a lot of levels, because my peer group is still telling me ultimately what I need to do, how hard I need to work or not, what's going to get me through, what's going to make me popular, what's going to, get me acceptance with my group. So my culture and my parents instilled lots of things in me, and you can still see the evidence and effect of those things in many different ways, in the way I comport myself, and the fact that I'm not a whore, et cetera, et cetera. But there's many things that doesn't matter what my culture tried to instill in me. Ultimately, my society told me that I can and should, in fact, be lazy, and they're going to reward me just because I'm smart. Not because I worked hard, just because I'm smart. So I rode on that, just like kids who are really beautiful and get a pass because they, bat their eyelids at you, and so they get a pass. They learn that they're going to use their looks to get by. It's very simple. It's psychology 101.
Well, let me ask all of the unicorns this, being that y'all are women. I know that Lady Ming has small children. But let me ask the rest of you the same thing. Having little children, and I don't know, you ladies who don't have children are planning to have some, or whatever the case may be. What kind of world do you think you're going to bring these small children up in? What do you see? What do you see going forward for whatever children you have now, or whatever children you may have down the road, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? What kind of life do you envision them having?
Well, you know what? To be honest with you, if you can't afford to invest a lot of extra time and energy into your children, I mean, to the point of like homeschooling, things honestly look bleak to me. You would really need to be on your kid's ass 24/7. There's no room to slide a little bit, or oh, well, they're just babies. Like, I mean, as it is, you should be disciplining and training your children from like day one. But you're going to need to make sure that your kids are in schools. You're going to need to go to those schools and pay attention and see what they're teaching your kids. Are they rewarding your kids just because, hey, well, there's a pretty picture on it, and at least you eventually handed it in? Or are they actually also disciplining your kids by showing your kids that, no, if you didn't work hard on this, you're going to fail? Right? So you are going to need to be invested in your children's moves all along the way. You're going to need to make sure if the school doesn't have after school activities and music programs and sports programs, you're going to need to be putting your kids into those things, so that way they learn team building exercises, so that way they learn discipline, they learn how to feel self-sufficient and to accomplish something. If we're not going to be investing that time and that energy into our children, and yeah, it's probably going to be expensive too, then at the end of the day, we're going to be contributing to the problem of the millennial, zennial, Generation Z problem, where we have a bunch of children who literally have no desire or need or even know-how on how to accomplish anything and be successful at it.
Just to piggyback off of what Classic said, because she's 100% right in terms of what it is we have to do. I'll just speak exactly about what it is that I do. You guys, for those who don't know, I have a 4 and a 5-year-old. I did stay home for 2 years before, my oldest was 2 and the other was like 6 months before I actually put them in daycare. But during that time, I took the time to teach them what I felt it is that they needed to know. My 5-year-old went into kindergarten knowing how to already add, and his numbers, they're teaching him 1 through 10. He already can count to 100 and beyond, and I'm teaching him how to count in 5s, 10s, 15s, 20s, and things like that. So to Classic's point, you have to I'm very hands-on with him. Everything we do is educational. When we walk down the steps, we're counting them. We're calling out numbers and colors and things like that. So I spend a lot of time with them. In addition to that, I have a drum set, a guitar, a piano. My husband plays trumpet, so we're also doing the music. In addition to that, they are also in jujitsu. Not that we want to teach them how to fight. We want to teach them how to defend, how to take down, how to control their emotions and their environment and things like that. I don't teach them that everybody gets a trophy method. Right now, we're working on them being first and winning and all those types of things, because I'm also trying to teach them how to be dignified losers if in case you do lose, because we all do from time to time. So I hope that the future that they have is very enterprising and very well rounded. You know, I am out here in the suburbs of Chicago, where I live in a very diverse area. You know, we have everything out here. So that's what I'm trying to do. But I have my foot on his teacher's neck. I make no misunderstandings. I have definitely told them directly I'm raising an African American boy, and as a result, I'm his advocate until he can advocate for himself. With that, I also give you the respect of almost being like a family member, because you see my children sometimes more than I do when you factor in, you know, nighttime sleeping and things like that. So we're a unit. We move together. We use the same verbiage and words at home as well as at school. I have a chart on the wall where they get stars based off of what they've done and accomplished, based off what I want them to do and accomplish. So I just believe it's a very hands-on parenting that you're going to have to do in order for them to not end up like the millennials, if you will. Because as I've said in the comment section, my daughter's lazy is lazy. Okay. And I don't know where she got it from, because I'm not lazy. You know, my mother isn't lazy or any of that. It just is what it is, you know. So we work with what we got, and I'm trying to teach her the same principles and things that I learned along the way in the School of Hard Knocks. So to sum it up in a nutshell, I guess that's it.
Let me just say this before the next unicorn goes. You are hardcore. I just want to put that out. I just want to put that out there. All right, next up.
Lady Ming is a gangster, but
stop, y'all. That's how rumors get started.
She going hard in the paint.
yes. Man, if I had kids, I would be so scared of how messed up this whole society is. I wouldn't even want them to leave the house, to tell you the truth. I'd want to homeschool or something. I don't know, or maybe send them out the country. I don't know where, but I don't know, do something, raise them anywhere but here.
Yeah, if by some wave of a wand I was to have a child, I would be very dismayed to a certain degree, because my work would be so cut out for me, it wouldn't even be funny. Because in this day and age, I definitely believe more in the homeschooling if you're capable of it. Because when your children are away from you, they are being socialized for 6 to 8 hours by somebody else. And there is very little that you can do to counteract it if you are not completely on your P's, your Q's, your R's, your S's, and your T's. If I were to have a kid, I would probably end up raising outlier children, because I just couldn't send them to Gladiator Academy. I could not, in good consciousness, send my children into the arena to kill or be killed, so to speak. You know, just thinking about it is daunting. I'm not real optimistic about where this society is going, because I see it crumbling, to be honest, and I don't know what phoenix rises from the ashes of it. So I don't really know. Everything would be sort of a question mark, but you know, that laid back, lazy parenting would not work. You will produce the carbon copy from the assembly line. Your children will not be different than those before them or in their age group. You'll be producing the same kid. Man, I don't even know how else to answer that question. That's a scary thought, actually.
Well, we coming around to hour 3. So I'm about to wrap this up. I want to thank everyone. I know we kind of drifted off. The only reason why I allowed it because it's a freestyle. So freestyle, pretty much anything goes. Next week we will be back 9:30 Eastern time. We're gonna have a topic next week though. I kind of like this freestyle stuff though. Maybe we'll do this once a month. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I want to thank everybody for stopping by. I want to thank everybody in the chat. I want to thank everybody for listening and tuning in and spending some time with us. I want to thank my boy, Brother Valdez, for coming through on the stream. I want to thank the other brother, Dollar Will, for coming in and shaking everybody up. I want to thank Unicorn 4. Lady Classic, Lady Ming, Lady Kendra, Lady Cats. Once again, they laid down a good show. Y'all make sure that y'all like, share, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you share this video, like this video. I don't know if you're watching it on the playback or you watching it live right now. Hit that like button and try to share it as much as possible. And be sure to stop by the Old Prophet of Thought series Facebook page and make sure you check out the TPOT bandwagon page as well. And we also have a Prophet of Thought series group fan page as well. Check us out on Instagram and WhatsApp. And also, if you got anything you want to hit me up about, you can write me at prophetofthought@yahoo.com or Professor Xavier @gmail.com. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming through. I'd like to thank the Unicorn 4. You ladies are amazing. You never cease to impress me with your intellectualism and the answer that you give and the way you hold your own. We will be back, like I said, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, right here on the OTPOT Media YouTube page. So with that, I will leave you with 3 words like I always do. Open your minds. And we out of here, folks.
Deuces.
Good
All right.
evening.
Good night, everyone. Great conversation.
Only